Hello and welcome to the very 30th episode of your favorite Stat Check podcast, host's favorite Stat Check podcast about your favorite Stat Check podcast, host's favorite Warhammer 40,000 event of the year. It is time for episode 30 of Take All Comers WT Season 2. 3 is a magic number. We've got a whole lot of numbers for you today. We're actually the quantitative podcast this time around. I just got back from WTC 2025. The USA came in third, in no small part thanks to the cooperation of everyone involved in the team, myself and Lucas included. So we're very excited to be breaking that down for you. We've got, I was about to say we've got new champions, but we have old champions. We still have France. We'll talk about them. We've got new War Masters, also still French. We've got new almost War Masters in the form of our boy Innes. Mad shout out to him. And we're going to break it all down for y'all. Also going to be looking forward to the next big teams event happening right here in the United States of America. That's going to be Challengers Cup. We'll talk about that. It's all going to be a ball and a biscuit. You're not going to want to miss it. But before we get into any of that goodness, I got to check in with the singular boy today. How we doing, Lucas?
I'm doing pretty good. Just finally starting to chill out in Portland a little bit. We had a couple of 100-degree days in a row. I'm ready for summer to be over, man. But it's starting to chill out. Work's been going pretty good. My boss just got back from her maternity leave, so that means that less responsibility for me, which is always nice. But I got some little pat on the back that I did a good job while she was out, which was nice. Yeah, things have been going very well. And bummed that I missed out on all the WTC stuff this year. I kept alternating every 5 minutes between I can't wait to see what's happening. I'm super eager to see what the hell is happening over there in Austria. And then I cannot pay attention to this because the FOMO is hitting me so hard. So that was just kind of a whole weekend of tune in, tune out, tune in, tune out, tune in, tune out. Just for 48 hours straight. But yeah. I'm excited to get to talk about it all, and then to also chat about what's next for the Rose City Ruffians at Challengers Cup.
Hell yeah, dude! Good.
How about you,
stuff.
Tyler? How you doing?
Man, I am exhausted. It is August 16th right now, so it's Saturday. Got back Monday night, and I am still reeling. Definitely recovered a little bit, but Tuesday, Wednesday, I was not a functional person. This has been a very big series of transitions all at once for me. Not only did we just wrap WTC, which is, a big emotional and physical effort into a pretty triumphant hurrah, I also came back to the US on Monday, so I am both no longer in WTC mode and also no longer living in Europe. So it's a lot of change all at once. And also I'm working, my advisor and I are working on a publication that's being submitted hopefully this morning. I finished what I think should be the final draft last night. I've said that several times though, and I've been wrong every time, so we'll see how that goes. If you happen to work for the IEEE in Latin America, please stop extending your journal deadline. My advisor keeps wanting me to change things. Just leave it. It's fine. Let us submit. Anyway. So that's been going on. It's just a whole lot of transition right now, which is very exciting and also very scary and very draining. So I'm feeling much better to be back. The journey back was also terrifying. I was talking to Taos about it a little bit here in the comment section. I think you already heard the story, right, Lucas?
I did not hear this at all.
You didn't hear this at all? Oh my gosh. Okay, so for those of y'all who don't pay attention to my personal life that much on the podcast, which fair enough, I've been teaching English in Spain this past year, so I was there as a student teacher from October until May, and then I hung out in Spain in June, and then I did this lovely gallivanting travel throughout Europe and got to visit some of my favorite Warhammer people, including Innes and Brian Sipe, over the course of July, and then went to WTC in August, and then came back. And the reason this is all legal, that I can stay for that long, is that you get to spend... I was in Spain legally teaching until the end of May, and then after that I was there as a tourist. You get 90 days as a tourist in Europe without needing an additional visa to visit there. And this has never been a problem in the past. I've explained the situation. I've shown my visas and whatnot to various people at passport collections and whatnot, and everything's been fine. One German man gave me a very suspicious eyebrow raise, but other than that, I was fine. But then this time, in Austria. Now, of course, this is right after WTC. The last night, we always go to the bar. We stay up really late. We were up till about 4 a.m. at the bar, and our train left at 5. So didn't sleep that night. No big deal. Took 2.5 hours of 3 trains collectively over to the airport. Managed to navigate the maze of the Vienna airport. Lovely airport, but very big one. Get through security, go over to passport control, hand over my stuff, ready to go sit down at my gate because I've got like an hour and a half because I got there nice and early. And the lady is like, bro, your visa doesn't expire June 1st, you stupid American. It expires January 6th. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, 6/1, it's Europe, means 6th of January, not June 1st, you idiot.
Oh my God.
You've been here for like 145 days. Like, you are here illegally. And I know, because I did a lot of research on this, that the general punishment for this is a 3 to 5 year ban from the EU if I'm found guilty of this. And there is no trial. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I haven't slept or eaten or drank anything. What? And they bring over some armed security guards, and we, go have a little chat in a little room. And I'm very scared. And I eventually realize that fortunately, though my visa is only until then, at the time, I thought my visa was printed. I realized in hindsight that's not what happened. I'm just an idiot. That visa was only until then. I then have my residency card, which is the thing that actually allows me to stay in Spain until the beginning of June. I'm able to produce that at eventually. They look at that and say, oh, yeah, you were totally here legally until June 1st, and then you're here as a tourist after then. You're totally fine. You're free to go. Everything's okay. But
Christ. Okay.
It's an absolutely horrifying half hour in an international airport. But we're all good. I did nothing wrong other than be sleep deprived and hand the wrong documents, I guess. Though no one previously had thought that. Like when I had flown from the UK into Germany a week beforehand, and the guy didn't mention this at all. He was just like, I don't know if you get the 90 days after your visa. And I was like, yeah, you do. And he was like, okay. But because you do. But anyway, man, it was a disaster.
Security!
So, I feel so safe, man. This is a much scarier but less funny story than you and the German security guy at WTC the first time. What's wrong with your passport, dude?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it has to exist in my fucking pocket. My pocket isn't a massive, expansive space where it's free to just thrive and breathe. My bad, dude.
We need to get you a passport wallet, bro. Anyway. But yeah, so we made it back. We're safe. We're here. And I've been kerfuffling through all sorts of stuff back at my folks' place, trying to find all my models and get all my dice sorted out and whatnot. So, had a lot of fun. Anyway, that's how I'm doing. Let's jump into some of the actual topics. It's a bummer that Nick can't be with us today because, man, oh man, are we excited. There's a new Votan codex out. Have you had much of a look at this book, Lucas?
I've looked through it. I haven't played it against it yet, though. It looks pretty fucking cool. I won't lie to you.
It has the best stratagem in the game in it, which is very annoying when that happens in a new book.
The disembark strat?
Yeah, exactly. You like completely uninteractable free primary?
That strat is unhinged.
You like 6-inch disembark assault ramp? What?
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. 6-inch disembark assault ramp that also avoids Overwatch. Like,
I think what they wanted to do was like, let's print a strat that lets you get out at 6 and just like go do your thing. So you're basically +3 move. That's pretty good on Berserker threat range.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just like wrote up a wording, pressed print, and didn't look at it again.
Yeah, it's definitely giving. Have you heard Brian tell that story about Phantasm?
No.
Sipe always tells the story where he was playing with one of the game devs at some big London tournament, and this is like release Eldar, and he did the most obvious thing in the world where he used Phantasm to get behind a wall and save a unit that had just done infinity damage. I don't remember. I didn't remember what was good at that point. Maybe it was Dark Reapers or something. And his opponent, this GW dev, was like, "Oh snap! Never even occurred to me that you could do it like that." And Brian's like, "What did you think you would use it for?" And he's like, "Oh, just to get into a forest to get -1 to hit or something." This must have been in 9th. Yeah, this was in 9th. Back when cover was what it was, when you could get -1 to hit for being in a forest. And Brian was like, "Oh my gosh, do you guys playtest anything?" But yeah, so So yeah, it was kind of that. I feel like also with the World Leaders Codex, they were like, hey, what if we do some crazy stuff that make disembarking weird? And then they just kind of kept going, and nobody thought to ask questions. So we'll see. I kind of doubt that stratagem survives long term, but if it does, it's
absolutely
going to be
not
something to play around.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure they're going to see people structuring it to use it in the command phase to get primary, and they're going to be like, yeah, we'll fix that. You can't use it in your own command phase. And the people are going to get out at the end of their opponent's fight phase instead, and like surprise Pikachu face.
Hopefully, given that they very clearly did not think about that stratagem very hard, this time they think about it a little harder while they were designing a fix for it. Because I do think it deserves to be fixed, right? Like, that's just very plainly not one command point worth of value.
No, it's not. But yeah, and then, man, have you run the numbers at all on this Thunderkin unit that detachment has?
The +2...
+2 lethal crit 4s.
Yeah, pretty ludicrous.
It is insane.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what they can do. Fortunately, it seems like their indirect isn't actually quite the terror that everyone was scared it was going to be. Fingers crossed. So we'll see what it's like. But I'm excited.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of. I mean, Art of War was in their review was like, this is the worst indirect fucking ever. And I'm like, yeah, it's not like jump off the page is incredible to me, but they're like, it hits on 5, so it hits on 6s indirectly. If you can't factor into like 3 different ways that you can get +1 to hit, then like, I'm sorry, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
like,
it's heavy, and you get +1 against things of objectives.
There was also like some other way to get +1 to hit. Like, you're gonna be hitting on 4s basically all of the time, and with the good weapon, you're also rerolling the wound. So like, it's not an inefficient artillery piece. It just may not be worth the points. Yes, if you also ignore that Plague Burst Crawlers have entropy cannons and a stubber and our 2-up armor T10, and you just think about the mortar, you're like, hey, so fucking bad for 200 points. Whatever.
And you also ignore contagions.
Yeah.
Like, yes, if they want to. Yeah.
Okay.
Come on. Is it, though?
It's fine.
Is it?
You don't have to read. We're Americans. We get it, you know. Reading is so overrated.
Yeah. Anyway, so excited to see that out in the wild. You had some run-ins with the new Grey Knight Codex as well. How's that been for you so far?
Pretty fun. Well, maybe not. I feel like they just kind of shuffled some stuff around and continue to make it Codex Dread Knight. I think the best attachments are still going to be like what kind of efficiency / tricks can you get in your Dread Knights, which is so boring, man. Like Sanctic Spearhead basically just buffs Dread Knight and Storm Raven. Okay, that's a vehicle attachment. That's fair. But Brotherhood Strike, you're not really getting reroll ones to hit and wound when you drop out of Deep Strike in melee with your Terminators. You're just getting it on whatever shooting platforms you have. So, like, that's basically a Dread Knight detachment. Warpbane.
Does it have the HOA timing where you can at least get it in melee out of Ingress?
No.
What?
It's the turn you arrive from Deep Strike, as far as I'm aware. So it's basically just shooting, unless you are Max Schwarzer and you love bombing 9s.
Especially because no Drago anymore.
Yeah, the Warpbane is the one where you're like, okay, you can get some value now because your whole army hits on 3s. Paladins hit on 2s, I think. But like you get the reroll hits, and it's like all the time when you're in the midboard. So that's a nice way to make some of the melee units actually work. But most of the time, I feel like it's just going to be how efficient can you make your Dread Knights, which is exactly what we had in the Index and Warpbane, which is kind of boring, I'll be honest with you. I love the concept, the idea of Grey Knights being like the badass demon hunting infantry dudes. The fact that all their little guys have 2-up armor saves is cool, makes them more sticky. They've all got good guns. They've all got good melee. It's such a cool elite marine archetype. And it just has been overshadowed this entire edition by, dumb baby carrier, shoot gun. I'm sorry, I'm not excited that the Grandmaster has a new nipple fucking stubber and a melt-a-gun. Cringe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the stuff that's in the detachments, the new rules you get look cool, but I just wish it pushed the dudes more, and I wish the shooting was not so ridiculous.
Alrighty, well, we'll see how those develop.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, the meta is the worst it's been in a long, long time.
It's not
So
great.
I hope that those two bring a little bit more life into things, along with hopefully some hammers getting dropped on Hammer, among other detachments. All right. Shall we talk about WTC?
Sure, let's do it.
Awesome. So, this is my third year at WTC. The USA has been going forever, so there's not a ton there. But it is most relevantly for us as an organization, John Lennon's first year as our captain. Sean Naden's been the captain the last 2 years that we've been involved. This is sort of John's debut year, so we were all very excited for him to see what he could string together. I think that there is a couple of big things that people are going to be talking about as the headlines from this. The big one is the comp. Us in France made the very unusual decision to not include knights, and we did end up in first place and third place. And I think that is and for everyone else, using your knights and dealing with your opponent's knights was kind of the name of the game in how well you could pair or not. There are a couple of other interesting specific storylines. For example, the Belgium-Germany storyline. Did you hear about this, Lucas?
No. Well, didn't they tie in the pod stage?
They did.
That's pretty cool.
So I haven't watched Stat Check this week yet, so I don't know how many of these stories Anthony has told. So if you're rehearing these secondhand from me, bummer. But Lucas needs to hear them. So VSL is playing, and they've gotten him a crown because he is the literal king of Belgium. And he's walking around with that. And we get into WTC, and Liam comes up to Anthony, and Anthony's like, "Hey man, how's your prep going? How you boys feeling?" And the first words out of Liam's mouth are, "I don't know what is in your comp." And Anthony's like, "What?" And he's like, "I don't know what's in your comp. I don't know what's in France's comp. I don't know what's in Germany's comp." No, sorry, not obviously Germany's comp. I don't know what's in France's comp. I don't know what's in the Swedish comp. We have only prepared for Germany. We have played every one of those 64 games 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
I have played as each of the opponent's armies about 5 times.
Holy cow.
Oh, Anthony was non stat check. Okay, great. Then I get first mover advantage. Awesome. But yeah, and they were like, that's what we did. And sure enough, they pair into Germany. And the Germans, they do, okay, so what is your thought, Lucas, when pairing against a team that has Liam VSL on it? What is your strategy in general?
Try to beat up everyone else, basically.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. You could try to do the whole hold him to an 8, hold him to a 10 thing, but I think you just accept that whatever matchup he plays, you're just praying for any number of points out of that, and then try to get 2 or 3 other people on your team a green or a blue. Yeah, exactly. My thought is I want to find the weakest player on my team playing the worst army, feed him to the wolf, and then let everyone else try to eat as much as possible. Yep.
Germany took the opposite approach. They paired Tim into him.
Interesting.
Now, I've played a bunch of Votan. Nanavati and I rep this game. I can talk freely about these things now. Nanavati and I rep Votan elves a bunch. Nick could barely score a point on me. It felt very Votan favored. And admittedly, VSL is playing a different Eldar list than Nick was, and Tim only had 1 squad of 6 bikes, not the usual 2, because he's got this the 3-man, so he's got the Thunderkin, and he has fewer pieces, so he plays on a Razor's Edge. I did not like your list, Tim, by the way, this year. I thought it was bad. But there are some differences in the matchup that was being played, but it seemed very Votan favored. Liam got a flat up 20.
Classic. Honestly, I love Nick, but it's no secret that he plays very defensively and cautiously. Do you think that matchup turns on its head if the Eldar player is wildly disrespectful and just attacks constantly?
We tried it both ways. And when Nick played defensively, he got a 4. When he played aggressively, he got a 0.
Again, I love Nick, but I think that's because he does not really play aggressively very often. So
yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. When one of the games we played, I've been listening, Tim. I know what you do. I got all my Zerks out and was like, we're just going to shoot mole launchers with sus too. What are you going to do about it? And Nick was like, damn, I'm going to full send to kill all your Zerks. And I was like, uh-huh. You sure killed all my Zerks.
They're dead.
Anyway, your tables now. But Yeah, so I think they messed that up trying to put Tim into him instead of a rando. Not that there's any randos on Team Germany. You're all wonderful people who are very good at Warhammer, but
A rando. Number 8 down there. Fuck them.
I know like 3 of your players by name. They're all wonderful people, but anyway, yeah. So, and as a result of that, Germany and Belgium tied 75-85.
Woo! Germany.
If Tim gets a point, Germany with the 85. If Tim gets a point off of Liam, they win.
See, that's so cool. I love underdog stories. I mean, I think that's like kind of the common sentiment across like lots of different competition, right? It's cool when someone the unfavored team punches up and makes something happen. I think there's like, I mean, we had this happen last year in the Greece round, right? Remember when we played Greece on Purge the Foe? And I remember very distinctly hearing the same thing from our coach, that on every game they were doing the same thing of just like try to tie the Americans. What's our plan to make this happen? I feel like they had a good plan, and I feel like they prepared for us. And I think that's often something that, I mean, I don't think a tier 4 nation is going to punch up in their tier 1 nation with any regularity, except for Thailand or whatever with their first year because they were goated. Where was I going with this?
China almost tied England this year, round 1.
That's hype. I saw one of those games on War Games Live. That was a fun
yeah. They a couple of their big wins faltered, but like they made some stuff happen.
But I think this is like a lesson for tier 3 and especially tier 2 nations that like it's not the tier structure is not immutable, right? Like beating your tier 1 nation is a matter of effort and time and prep, not a matter of chance. And
absolutely.
I think that's really cool because it means that, you know, the tier 1 nations, for better or for worse, all kind of like take their pod stage for granted for the most part.
Yeah,
but, like,
we practice the pairings, but like we're not practicing that.
Pairings. You'll talk about the lists that are like oddball, but you're not exactly like repping those lists repeatedly or, you know, super stressing about those games. And I think I hope that more underdogs can punch up and take some scalps in future years because I think that's very cool.
Yeah. I will say, did you see some of the final results of where the new pods are going to land for next year, assuming we hit 40 teams as predicted?
No.
So this year at the end of it, Scotland finished in 10th, which pushes them into tier 1.
That's hype.
Belgium also finished, I think they finished in like 6th or 7th. They also push into tier 1. While the Dutch got pushed out.
Okay.
And because the Spanish didn't send their actual team this year, they got 29th and got pushed out.
Oofda.
So, for one thing, next year, if the Spanish show up, they are going to knife someone.
Yeah.
If the team whose most recent accomplishment was second at WTC is now a tier 2 nation, like, you do not want them in your pod.
Nope.
But meanwhile, Belgium is no longer lurking. They are just a shark now, so we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
But yeah, very exciting stuff for the future. Anyway, so that was one of the big storylines. And then the other big storyline, like I said, is the Knights thing. How do you feel, Lucas, as someone who maybe wasn't on the inside of as many of these conversations about the U.S. decision and the French decision to not bring Knights at all as our strategy going in?
It's a little tough for me right now because I am currently working on Knights builds for our Challengers Cup roster. So I'm like in the emotional throes of like, does this work? Does this not work? Am I going to troll the entire team if I don't figure this out? So I think it's very plain to see that Germany came in second. Did they have Imperial Knights?
Yeah, Arna played Imperial Knights, Fred played Chaos Knights.
Okay, so it was 0 Knights in first, 2 Knights in second, 0 Knights in third.
Yep, and then Sweden fourth, I think may have just had Chaos.
Just had Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
And I think their Chaos Knights player was like the 6th best player at the event, which is super hype.
Maybe even higher, but he slaughtered people.
Bjorn killed, I think his name is Bjorn, right?
Yeah, Jokkelson, right?
Let me go find this person's name so I don't misquote this.
Yeah, they love the
Bjorn
Swedes.
Eriksson.
They're wonderful people. Eriksson, yeah, not Jokkelson.
Yeah, he did very, very well.
Yeah, and that's
I
for those of
mean,
y'all following along at home, that's the 3 despoilers with double Gatling cannons, one of which has flesh metal, 3 carnivores, a stalker, a beast of Nurgle, 2x3 Nurglings, and Rodigus. Rodigus!
so sick.
The list.
Yeah. So I think it's very plain to see that because teams with no knights came in first and third, I think it's kind of not disputable that you can make a team comp work without knights. I think that's pretty clear at this point. There are, knights are too strong as an army. That's absolutely true. But it's not like they are the meta terror that annihilates everyone. Like it's certainly at the cream of the crop of international play. People can find ways around playing around 6 big dumb models. Like there are counters, there are ways to neutralize or beat this army. It has things it does not want to play against. If you haven't seen the Eldar Chaos Knight matchup or Eldar Imperial Knight matchup, please have a look at that. It certainly has warped the meta around it, and I think one thing that kind of is hard to there's kind of Tyler, your mic is really staticky right now. So one thing that's kind of hard to quantify until you kind of see it in action is it's not just that people build in knight counters. It's not just that people either, they bring knight counters and then they either bring knights themselves, but it's also that if you build in knight counters into your comp, those lists that counter knights are worse into teams that don't have knights, which is kind of like a second step. But any list that's like very heavy anti-tank or is specifically designed to counter as 5 or 6 big list is inherently very, very bad into like Host of Ascension or Chaos Cults or Eldar or any rat spamming army. And like this is kind of just a very intuitive, not intuitive, but it's once you hear it, it's like, oh, that's like just how metas work. But until you think about it, that's kind of something that's a little bit hidden of like you're countering the counter, so you're weak to the thing you're trying to not to counter if you don't bring it. It's just like that kind of thing is very weird. I think the USA and France very much benefited from that, right? Like everyone who was ready to kill 3 Imperial Knight Atropos looked across the table and saw 80 Corn Berserk and was like, fuck, I'm getting a 2. Or saw 30 Possessed and was like, fuck, I'm getting a 3. So yeah, it's still very interesting. I think there was kind of a consensus, at least among the American players, that again, Tyler, your mic is a little bit fucked, so I'd mute yourself. That Chaos Knights was much weaker than Imperial Knights, and that is certainly not the case. Chaos Knights is much more well-rounded, and Imperial might be better in very certain scenarios. But I think overall, Chaos Knights with the extra movement, and some of the strat support. I think that was mostly just because we missed Infernal Lance, to be fair. I don't know. We didn't talk about this because we haven't talked about the prep yet on the show, but I was not super involved. I was playing a little bit of Infernal, right? Like we put out that stat rep of Infernal versus Tunnel Nids, and that was like basically release weekend for Chaos Knights. I think that was like in early June. So we had like a month and a half between that stat rep going up, me realizing, oh, I think this like detachment's actually kind of fucking good. And list lock. And I was not super involved in pushing Chaos Knights during that time. I kind of thought that if anyone wanted to play them, they would play them and they would figure out the best build. And if they didn't want to play them, then so be it. And then the list got revealed and it was piles and piles of Infernal Lance bigs. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, I did realize that was a powerful archetype, but I really did not push it and inform my teammates of much of that at all. So I think that kind of contributed quite a bit to the USA's perception that CK was not as good as Imperial because the power of Imperial is much more obvious. In CK, you actually have to see Infernal on the table to realize its power.
Yeah, we played tested Imperials a bunch. We knew everything in and out about Imperials. In Chaos Knights, we were testing Infernal with a mixed build, and we were testing Lords of Dread with 6 bigs. Lords of Dread with 6 bigs is not a good list. That was basically why the call was made. It was not made out of, we've seen everything there is to see, and we think we're better than it. We figured out that Infernal 6 bigs was the correct build like a week before list lock, right? John figured it out. He was like, oh, wait, we've been doing this wrong. I think what it comes down to is that we didn't properly understand how important despoilers were. They are the best knight chassis of either book, period. Yeah. And Infernal is the one that unlocks them properly. Because once they get access to Ignore's cover and they get access to the boost of defense, suddenly not having an invuln in combat isn't the worst thing in the world, and suddenly that damage just goes. I think we also got a little bit too excited about Ganyo with a knight, because Ganyo loves a knight. And it did work out very, very well for him in some senses, but also I think it probably would have been fine without it.
I think he does fundamentally the same thing he did on our roster if he ran one more squad of Death Shroud and two more little Blight guys, Blight drone, whatever's.
Yep.
Right. He gets 8 to 12 every single game. People don't want to play in his table choice. He's Mr. Old Reliable. He always has been, and that's about it. I don't think you need the Despoiler to dissuade people from rushing to his Morty's Hammer.
I think if you want to play in singles, and you want to play a Death Guard, the Despoiler is a really good pick for that, especially if you happen to play in GW land or something where, like, there's a lot of things available. Because it's miserable to play against.
There's, like... I've been testing this a lot, the double battle cannon guy. There's like 3 or 4 boards on GW where there's that nice 6x12 that's right in the corner of your BZ if you're on Crucible. He just lives back there, and that's his little kingdom, dude. He toes in, he obliterates someone, he moves around, he obliterates someone, he moves around, he obliterates someone, turn 4, he walks onto an objective. Like, that's the play pattern from every single game. On WTC, doesn't quite work as well. Yeah.
His range banding is so absurd. I practiced a bunch with Chris Irvine from Team Scotland, who's their Death Guard player. Great dude, love Chris. But he was like, let's practice the Votan, because we were collaborating with the Scots. They had the same list. When they finished in 10th this year. Crazy. But he was like, I want to practice the Votan matchup. And I'm like, okay, can we do it on not you winning the table choice on tipping point? And he's like, nope, that's the only one that I care about. I'm like, okay, dude, we'll practice on table 7 tipping. This will be fun. And he's like, so your land forts are range 24 and move 10. I'm like, He's like, and my guns are rapid fire 72. So if I'm within 36, but outside of 34, I get to kill anything I want and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm like, He's like, and on this table, there's no way that you can hide in a position that does anything about that. And I'm like, He's like, oh, so I just win. I'm like, yes. Please don't make me do this for 3 hours. And he was like, no, we should run it just in case. Fucking miserable, dude. Absolutely hate that army.
Yeah, I think a lot of those. I like Chaos Knights, and this is why, as annoying as it is that they bump down the Melta range on the Armigers, I think this is a totally appropriate nerf. Chaos Knights being if they're gonna have shooting, being the close range shooting army is very cool. I think a totally fair nerf to Despoiler type weapons is battle cannons down to 48-inch range from 72, and Gatling cannons down to 30 or 24-inch range. I think it'd be totally reasonable. I
think you could cut both of them in half, and it would be fine. I think if a battle cannon was 36, get within 8, I think it would be fine. I would say, as opposed to knocking them all like 100 points, which I think is what's actually going to happen. I don't think it's that complicated to balance Chaos Knights. I think it's pretty clear that like 6 bigs is too many. They should only have 5. Crazy. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think there's anything that Chaos Knights do that is fundamentally not okay, other than have just too much of the things that they do. If Knights are going to exist in the way that they've decided them to exist, with Towering being what it is and Despoilers existing the way that they do, I don't think there's any Chaos Knight rule that is that crazy and needs nerfing. It's just too much stuff.
You can lose one Armiger and maybe an enhancement, and I think that puts the army in a pretty reasonable spot.
Yeah, totally. So, to be clear, I don't mean like cut a big knight worth of points. I mean to say cut it such that you cannot have these 6 big. It's 5 and a small, or something. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Whatever it is, I'm sure it will be brutal, knowing how GW tends to respond to these kind of metas.
Hopefully not, man. This is like the first time Big Knights have been playable in editions. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but certainly for Chaos Knights, it's like there's one viable Chaos Knight Big throughout the entirety of 9th edition. And now 10th edition. It's only Armigers for 2 years. Oh, Big Knights are playable again. Goodbye. like, we can be reasonable about this.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. I doubt it, but I hope so. Because yeah, it's a fun and when you get to exploit the obvious weaknesses of the knights and it actually matters, it's really fun.
It is.
But man, oh man, do they not have those weaknesses with 6 bigs? Anyway, so let's jump into the actual. So the moral of the story, I think, is that you do not need to eat bigs if you really don't want to. I, however, think that we made a massive mistake by not taking knights. I think that if we wanted to build the comp that we did, we needed our knight answers to be a little bit more rock solid than they were. We'll talk about a couple rounds where our knight answers didn't quite do the things that we were hoping that they would do. Yeah, a lot of lessons learned there in both comp and in prep. So let's get right into it. What's going to be fun for you guys is that because I am the tech czar of Team USA, I've got a lot of data that I can show off and talk to you all about how the rounds actually went on a turn-by-turn basis, which is super fun. If you're interested in building something similar for your team, shoot me a DM and we'll talk about it. But we'll start off in the pod phase with Israel. Let me hit share screen. Sweet. Okay, so this here is our live score tracker. This is what we had people interfacing with on a turn-by-turn basis. Basically, over here, we collect all of the information on where everyone is projecting every turn, both in terms of their score, their trending, and then also, obviously, it tallies everything up automatically. But what's cool is that it all comes with timestamps, which means I'm able to build a graph like this. This is what the Israel round looked like from our perspective as Team USA on a moment-by-moment basis, right? The round is 3 hours-ish. By the time we're done with it, as you can see, we started off projecting really strong. We had a couple people falter a little bit, and then a couple people pulled through at the end. Our pairings this round, it just does one tab at a time. Okay. And so let me switch over to this tab here. Cool. This is how I calculate pairings. Our pairings went super well, and then a couple of these got pushed pretty hard. Obviously, Israel being a Tier 4 nation had some players who were not quite as experienced, and there were some skill diffs that got showed off there. Some of the crazy games in this round are that blue into orange and that green into yellow, where Brian Sipe got 13-7'd by Kroot Hunting Pack.
Let's go!
Which, yeah, props to the Kroot players, dude. We did not take this army very seriously, and we really should have. It was especially funny, though, because Brian's spent the last 2 weeks ringing the bells of guys, there are a couple of armies that nobody has practiced into that we are definitely going to run into. Please practice these armies. And Kroot was one of them. And guess who didn't get his Kroot matchup in?
Wah, wah.
Man, turns out that was crazy. And then, God, Sam had just an awful time into this T-Suns player. You can see, if we switch back to this, you can see the turn by turn for Sam here, right? Starts off looking real good. He went first on tipping and has the objectives going his way. That's what this alpha means over here. He started off projecting real hot. His opponent was like, yeah, man, I'm just going to totally...
By tipping, you mean supply drop, right? The disappearing objective?
Yeah, supply drop. Yes, of course. That's the thing that matters. His opponent was like, I ain't scared of you. And totally did not... he banked his whole screening on a 2-wound Sekitar robot on bottom of 1. And Sam is like, that's not real. Get biked. So that thing dies immediately. And the guy's like, oh no! Taos the 10 turns is a different round. So then Sam's like, okay, well, what if I drop my whole army on Magnus and blow him up? Because usually the first squad blows him up. But what if I put all 4 squads just to be extra safe, and then they have other things they can shoot at? And he was like, cool, dude. What if Magnus lives on 1 wound?
Oh no, man.
And then what if you fail all of your 9-inch charges? And Sam was like, oh no.
Host of Ascension! Let's go gambling!
Gambling army! It's so much fun. This does happen from time to time, so that was kind of crazy. But yeah, overall, the round puts out really well. I'll go back over to the pairing section over here. Gagne did some unsavory things to the guard. Anthony did some horrific things to this Custodes player. Nick did some bad stuff to Death Guard. Talked about the crew. Folger ran over some elves. That's what his list does. Sam we talked about. And then Spatho got to push real hard into these Shattercrons. And in a shocking turn of events, John Lennon is pretty good into Tyranids. So fun round overall. We end up at 125. The Israeli team was a lovely group of guys. Had a good time with them. And that pushed us over to round 2 into Bulgaria. Continuing in pod here. This was a real interesting one. We end up actually a point higher at 126 overall because none of our matches falter. Everyone just kind of wins their games. Anything that you see here that looks worth talking about?
Gagne with the rare green.
Gagne has a green and comes back with like an 11 is a recurrent theme of this year.
Okay.
It's kind of what he does.
Maybe yellow or no. What was the joke? He kept he kept rating everything as table downside.
Yes.
I'm like, okay.
Table downside for everything other than table 8. No, Gagne, that's not what that means.
Yeah, that is yellow plus, not green minus, you donkey.
Yeah. And he got table 8. He did get his table. Or no, I think he wants tables. This is Hammer. Hammer is it Hammer where you want 8 or 7? Are they both really good? Hammer 8 it is also very good. And this is hidden supply. So Hammer 8 is actually better than Hammer 7 for a gun army. I don't know.
So
anyway.
the objectives split in a fixed direction, right?
Yes, they did. They all split like this, bottom right, top left.
Very good.
But yes, that was funny. Yeah. Oh man, I got to watch this Anthony game a lot into the Space Wolves. This dude was like very reasonable and reasonably cautious, and Anthony was like, "I just don't care. You're just dead everywhere." He had like 2 different tanks explode and do horrible things to his army. Anthony did Anthony stuff and just would not fail a charge. Angron rezzed immediately.
Nice.
Oh no, sorry, So okay, I remember what happened now. I'm like, Anthony, how's this game going? He's like, very good. But it'll probably be like, high side of a draw, small win, assuming Angron dies this turn. If Angron lives, then we're insane. And instead, Angron exploded and did like 30 mortal wounds.
Nice.
I love explosions, man. Such a fun and balanced and reasonable mechanic.
Yeah.
Massive props to Sam on this one, by the way. That Admech matchup is sketchy for GSC, and he just like was not having it. He just and his dice continued to absolutely bail on him. He's like, this
was the one dude with Skatari Hunter cohort, just like a swarm of
yeah.
guys.
Exactly, just actually playing good old-fashioned SHC with all the good pieces. But he also had 20 Rust Stalkers, and Sam was like, all right, cool. Need to clear the Rust Stalkers off this objective. Primus Squad, go. And he, with all the seismics and the grenades and the lasers, got 0 hits with crit 5s.
My God.
He's like, here's my 8 seismics, 2 lasers, 2 grenades. That's 12 shots. We'll reroll everything. 24 shots, 0 5s.
With full rerolls.
With full rerolls, yeah.
That is unhinged.
Indeed. Fortunately, he made a couple charges and was able to keep those fire bats tagged up.
Still got a 13.
He's still got a 13. Yeah, he some gaming.
Wow.
But yeah, good round overall.
Rust Stalkers seem very nice in that matchup.
They do. Oh my God. It was like one of the worst things about coaching is that you can't tell your players when they're stepping on rakes. Sam didn't know that the Rust Stalkers had precision.
Oh.
So when that squad survived and had it after he did a bunch of other things, he eventually whittled it down to just a couple guys. Maybe it was even just the sergeant. It was sergeant and 2 guys left, and he charges in with his Primus squad. And I'm looking at this like, oh no. And he puts the Primus right in front so he can hit, and he kills the 2 guys. So the sergeant is still alive, who is hitting on 3s, deving on 3s, 5 attacks. If he gets 4 devs, the Primus just removed, no questions.
Yep.
And the dude rolled 4 hits and 3 out of 4 wounds, and CP'd the last one and failed it. And Sam was like, why did you do that? And he's like, he's precision. He would kill the Primus. And Sam was like, oh, good to know. Guess we're fine. But yeah, it was very spicy. Yeah, so it was a very cool dude test. Glad that y'all had a good game as well. You can see if we jump over here, a very different story of how this round actually went. Share this tab instead.
I mean, to be fair, anyone who ever plays Qatari Hunter Core Herd is a Giga Chad. That archetype
Absolutely,
is so
dude.
cool.
It's a lot of fun. This is the Bulgaria round as compared to the Israel round. We did start very high, but we had a couple of very key moments of, oh gosh, are we going to draw this? Oh gosh, are we going to draw this? And then on the tail end, things just kind of, stonks. But this was a much more stressful round, as you can see, than the Israel round was. So, real great bunch of guys. We had eight awesome games, and they definitely made us sweat in some uncomfortable ways. So that's them. Round 3, then we get to pair into our tier 2 nation for our pod, which is Denmark. And I realize here that I don't have the results put into this matrix here, but this at least shows you the projections. I can, in theory, hunt them down. Spatho gets a 13. Lennon gets a 20. Sam gets a 2. Lennon gets a 20.
Damn, Sam gets bodied by T-Sons.
Yeah, not a 20, a 2.
It's a little bit different.
Just slightly different things. Just wants to auto-complete to 20.
It knows Sam well.
It does. He does get a lot of those. 2. And then Sipe gets a 12. Vanilla gets an 18. Sipe gets a 12. Vanilla gets an 18.
Quick reminder, by the way, that our boy John Seabird got a 9 against Sam last year at Challenger Champions Cup.
Hell yeah, dude. What a Chad the Siebes is. That man is just a rock.
He is.
Sam was like jumping up and down complaining about Landfort math, and I was just laughing all the way to the bank, dude. 12. This was the most frustrating round to me as a GSC player, because we had Ganyo first accept GSC, and Ganyo has played into me on Swarm. Sam claims that he has played into him on GSC, and yet he just didn't know any of the GSC tricks. He got completely caught off guard by coherency nonsense. This GSC player deploys in his L in the front of his room. They're playing on, again, a hammer and anvil. 5 Flaccos in the very corner, and then his 20-man Neophyte squad all behind them. Right, all up in the corner. And Ganyo has Poxwalkers 9 inches off the line right in front of him. And Ganyo goes first, and he's like,
Get him, zombies.
Walks backwards.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, bro.
No.
You go in, you attack the 5 guys because you only charge them. You kill them, you tag without out-killing a single Neophyte. The game is over.
He's too
gun-pilled. It was hilarious. So it was just, again, train crashes in slow motion. And yet, he got a 12. I don't understand what happened. The Big Knight died to Overwatch. He was admittedly already down to 8, but he took 8 damage on Overwatch, and I'm like, Ganyo, no, stop.
Was that from the Primus squad?
Yeah, but not with lethals up.
Oh, because they already dropped. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was nonsense. But yeah, so props to him for that. This was the round where Sam had an awful time into the Terminators, I believe. This is Coven's T-Sons. Yeah, with Terminators. Oh my gosh. This dude has his 10 Terminators. He also was a top 5 or 10 scorer in the event. Awesome dude, played really well. He went first, crystalled top 1, and just slammed the 10 Terminators as far forward as he possibly could in the middle of the board. He couldn't quite fit them, so he had 2 of them on top of the crates. Those Terminators move 5, so they can never get off the crates. But he was like, that's fine. This is where they will live for the remainder of the game.
Wow, that's funny. That is funny as fuck.
Yeah. And yeah, Sam just could not handle that level of pressure, and again, just could not kill anything.
Just teleported into what? Shoot cars?
to shoot. He was just shooting bikes and stuff, but also just to take up maximal space.
Okay, I mean that tends to work against host if you go first.
Exactly, especially on hammer. Host does not love hammer into aggressive armies necessarily, especially on WTC tables where they still then don't get easy angles. On GW, it's probably something different. But yeah, so really cool round. But yeah, we can see the moment by moment on Denmark. It looked
not about a 20 CK. Let's fucking go.
Yes, sir. We finally got it to happen.
From that one.
Yeah, that particular night answer was very clear. And yeah, Marcus Jensen points out. We'll talk about John in a second. This was a really interesting round because we paired off for the upside of a draw. We were expecting an 84, and then you can see things drop off around the 1 hour mark as John, I believe it is, ends up faltering. This is turn by turn. Here is real time. Yes, you can see right here. Oh no, Sam falls off a cliff. Absolutely. Lennon.
What happened okay, this is the Terminator teleport in, fuck your shit up.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what
Lennon
happened
played
there.
against World Leaders again, right? Because I remember he played against World Leaders against Denmark last year, and I think he did the same this year.
Yes, he did. Oh my gosh, this game was crazy. Oh, Jesus Christ. So this is, I sent you a picture from this game. I forgot how awesome this game was. So this is, let me pull up this World Leaders list, because this dude is a Chad, and he played, I keep scrolling the wrong document, and he played an awesome list. This was Marcus Jensen. That is Marcus in chat. Awesome. Hey, Marcus, how you doing? Hope you're having a great time. You're a king. He's got a Footprints, Karn, a Juggerlord, a Master of Executions with the Berserker Glaive, 2 20-man Zerk bricks, 3 8-bound, 2 Forge Friends, 2 Hellbrutes with Hammer and Fist, and 2 squads of 10 Jackals.
Let's go. That's
Chad shit. So 2 things to note, one of which Taos taught me about, who's also in the chat here. It is. Are you familiar with the blood surge on the Jugger base bullshit?
No.
So the Juggernaut is on a big wide base that is more than an inch or half an inch longer than it is wide than it is across, and he pivots for 1.
Blood surge distance.
Specifically, you get any amount more than the normal distance, which means if that dude ingresses 9 inches away and you shoot at that unit, and they auto blood surge 8, he's in engagement range now.
That's so funny.
If you don't have a fire and fade or something, or some way to move after that guy shows up, you cannot shoot that unit.
Wow. Have you considered shooting him with your ignore cover despoiler, who would kill the entire unit?
I bet John thought long and hard about that decision. Though I think this guy actually ended up deploying both squads. But
that's super Chad though.
But so this dude parks his berserkers. They're playing on. I can tell you they're on table 3, which I love that we have list data. I can just pull up what that looks like. They're on. Why are all the tables messy? Oh, because we were pairing with them. Yeah, there we are.
Wow, that's so sick,
isn't it? So if I share this tab instead, so they're playing on this table here, table 3. Can we see this on screen? Yeah, we can. Awesome. So the dude deploys his berserkers with the Juggerlord in that rhino in the top left-hand corner there, in that big blue solid wall thing. And John is looking at this, and he's like, all right, cool. I'm just going to park my... He's got like a rhino up by the crates. Not even on the point, just like by the crates up there on the top right. He's like outside of 22 or 23 inches. He's like, we're probably safe over here. And the dude is like, safe? What are you talking about? Rolls a 6 on his advance, and the guys go 14.
Go 16.
Or sorry, go 6. Yeah, because they're 8-inch move plus 2. Exactly. So they go 16, and suddenly they're like, oh, outside of 22, you mean 6-inch charge?
Let's go!
Okay.
We're going!
Slam in, swing all the way across the entire board, and are like engaging things behind the center ruin as well.
Let's fucking go, dude.
And John's like, guys, what?
That's so hype.
So he's absolutely terrified. And he's like, all right, well, how hard do you want me to send about this situation? And we're like, well, if you look at the overall graph, right around this time, This is why I love having this. This
Sam
happens.
started shitting his pants, right?
Sam is shitting his pants. We're right around here. We're in like nearly a dead draw kind of range at that 1 hour mark. We're like, John, you got to do some John shit right now. Figure it out, dude. And sure enough, he does. He full sends and sends at least one of his wing princes, which goes ping-ponging. I got this great shot. I don't have it pulled up here at all, but I have this awesome shot where this dude, Marcus, has the sick... I mean, I sent you... You saw this photo of the sick old-school Forge World Chaos Corn Prince on foot with the big old axe. Yeah. And John plays Forge World Fulgrim with converted wings as one of his demon princes.
Oh, that's so high.
And the two of them got to fight. Oh, it was so sick. So he wins that fight. He then goes into a Hellbrute, and if he doesn't kill this Hellbrute, I think he's like down to 1 or 2 wins at this point, the Hellbrute will swing back and kill him, and 6-inch Pal Console the entire Erdi all the way down. Like, John would immediately get like a 2. And he narrowly gets through this Hellbrute. And like the entire team let off a sigh of relief. Because then instead the Winged Prince did basically that, but obviously over the course of 3 turns, not 1. And John managed to push this all the way to a 20. But like when we talk about a flip matchup, this is a flip matchup. Yeah. Like could have just as easily gone the opposite way. Absolutely terrifying.
2 Ride the Lightning factions. You know, yes. Playing on Hammer. I guess it's probably... No, on Hammer and Anvil it probably is more swingy. Because like if something goes wrong, then like... the opponent has ready access to the rest of your army because all of it's so fast. Noise Marines are terrifying in this matchup, but also so are like Forge Fiends and Corn Berserkers. I mean, Corn Berserkers are like World Leaders is one army that's like Lamau. Your Demon Princes are -1 damage. Die.
I just want these nuts, dude. I don't care.
AOC me. Oh no. Oh, take 45 saves in AP2. Yeah. This is cool. What a wild game.
This was an awesome round. Massive props to the Danes who did some really good prep into this. We had a couple things break our way. That was a big one. The other ones that went kind of crazy. I mean, obviously Nick into the Chaos Knights was going to be horrific. And it was good to see that on full display. Anthony did some unfortunate things to this Kron player, but like I don't think that really surprised anybody. Brian did well. We talked about Sam went poorly.
Was it Shatter or Awakened?
Shatter Krons for Anthony, yeah. Was this the dude who did something crazy with his Silent King?
I am so sad that Shatterkrons like disappeared overnight because of this meta that we're in.
I think this is the dude who Anthony ingressed Angron, 9 off the Silent King, and the dude said, "Fuck it, Silent King charges," and hit the charge. It was like, "You stay right there," and Angron was like, "I killed both Miniers and dropped you to 6. Where did you think I was going?"
Yeah.
But massive props for the
phase. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but massive props for the balls on that guy. That was a sick play, even if it didn't necessarily convert super well. But yeah, really cool stuff.
Around, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the end of Bulgaria, and that's the end of end of Denmark. Bulgaria was round 2. So they were awesome. We had a great time with them. We do end up in first place out of pod, which is pretty sick. We would have loved to have stayed there a little bit longer, but in the morning we have got the French, and that is where things get real sticky. As this does end up being our one loss over the course of the weekend. Let's take a look at the pairings and kind of try to diagnose what went wrong here. So this is our pairings into France. A couple things stand out to me, but I'm curious, Lucas, from your perspective, what stands out to you?
Okay. I mean, the two oranges didn't slip. One average matchup mega slipped and one bad matchup slipped. I mean, everything seems pretty drawish except for the 2 matchups that went incredibly poorly.
Yeah. The big thing to me is that we only won 1 game.
Yeah.
It's real hard to be competitive in a round if you only win one game.
Yeah, if you only win one, it's like you're shooting for a tie.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's take a look at the live tracker and see if we can kind of diagnose what went wrong. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about this. Yeah. So at the beginning, we always predict conservatively. We're predicting a little bit under a draw, which is kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. And then you'll notice that there's a rather precipitous drop off a cliff, and then a bit of a rallying, and then a secondary incredibly precipitous drop off the face of the map and off of the graph before bouncing back toward closer to a draw. Okay. So here's how it goes down. In general, or I guess I can also then switch over to something like this. This is the real-time stuff. Yeah. So I've got Lennon highlighted here in the black dash lines because he is kind of the story of this round.
Who's he playing against again?
This is Lennon he's playing into Sacco on CSM.
Bile.
Yeah, Bile.
Yeah.
And based on predictions, he is like our golden child. He needs to put his fist through Sacco if we're going to come out in a reasonable spot. And these timestamps seem a little bit weird to me. I think it was a little bit earlier than this, but maybe it was as these timestamps suggest. They certainly coincide with that secondary precipitous drop off a cliff. Basically, things were in general not going super hot. Folger's getting clamped down on by Olivier is not going so great. Nick makes some early mistakes that make that recon guard matchup a little bit rougher than it needed to be. We had repped that matchup, and Nick knew that he could play it to a draw. He made some early mistakes that were pushing him into definitely the lower side of a draw, but still drawish. And then we tell Lennon to get a little bit greedy, and he does. And Lennon sends in a winged prince into 2 squads of possessed. And is like, I am going to just tank this, and I'm going to stage my entire army mega aggressively, and then next turn, maybe your possessed kill me on your turn, I don't really care. Full send, you're getting tabled.
That makes sense.
It's a cool plan. It's a little bit aggressive, but like that's what we need you to do, and we're asking you to push here. Sacco rolls like a Greek god, and the winged prince dies.
Oh!
So now John is staged mega aggressively, and there are 20 possessed sitting right in front of him with
Holy
nothing
shit.
to do. And Sacco has movement and weapon skill. So like
Oh my god.
Yeah. So John, who is projecting a 13 at this point, is like, guys,
5.
6? Yeah. And we're like, oh no.
Not great.
So we did what I've been proverbially calling, we set the house on fire. Because our only projected win is suddenly projected way down. Anthony is at this point projecting a small win, but not any real ability to push. So we're like, all right, cool. Hey, Nick, how we doing? And Nick's like, not great, but I'm fighting for a 7. And we're like, any crazy ideas? And Nick's like, I mean, I could full send. And if it works, like, I could win this game. And we're like, yeah, you're going to need to do that. And then we go over to Gagno and we're like, hey man, how's it going? He's like, you know me, dude, it's a 10. And we're like, it needs to be a 12. And he's like, okay, I'll do what I can. And then we also we tell Anthony to do what he can. I don't remember the details of what happens in Anthony's game. Talk to him about that. And then we also go over to Spatho. Oh, Spatho was a big question mark in this. He's playing into the French 100 Berserker Urkerwood, 100 Zerkerwood, with the Space Wolves, and he thinks that's a bad matchup. Having watched some of that game and talked to some people about it, we start thinking, you know what? We don't think it's actually that bad of a matchup. I don't think he had played this. I don't remember if he had. Maybe he had, but we basically said you're going to need to make it a good matchup right away. His Matrix suggests that he has practiced it, but so full send. And for a minute there, it looks like he's going to be able to. And we're like, all right, this is what we're doing. We're setting the house on fire. We're putting our cock and balls on the table, pushing all our chips into the middle. We're not losing to France, and it's this hard without a fight. And Gagno gets burned. He falls down to like an 8, I think. Go back to the results. Over here, share this tab instead. Ganyo falls down to a 9. Nanavati does not do nearly enough damage on this full send and bounces all the way down to a 3. Folger keeps getting clamped. He's trying to lose slowly, which is a big mistake. He should have tried to win and then failed and got an 8. Instead, he tried to lose slowly and got clamped and got a 3. Folger pivoting really last minute to an army that he is totally unfamiliar with is going to have some downsides, and this kind of game is one of them. He knows how to win with the army. He does not know how to lose with the army yet. There's just not enough time to rep that, unfortunately. Brian does everything in his power and is just not able to get a single drop of blood out of the turnip that is Meissen, and comes back with a 10, which is mildly disastrous. And Spatho, despite looking like he was going to get a good win for a minute there, has a horrible turn of sending and drops down to a 9. So with the way, if those things had gone as trending, like if Spatho gets it's us 2 diff and Ganyo gets us 2 diff and Nick gets us 4 diff, that's 8. And Brian gets diff, like it's 9. Like from where we ended up, that's a draw. The problem is we're projecting Lennon at a 6, so that's still a lot. So that's like barely the bottom side of a draw. Or sorry, so it's below a draw, so it wasn't acceptable. The upsetting thing is that Lennon then does Lennon things and comes back with a 13 anyway.
Yep.
Which is, like, unfortunate.
Yeah.
Awesome that he did that. Unfortunate that we set the house on fire.
I think unfortunate is the correct way to describe that, because I think y'all did what you needed to there, of like you're the one person and one of 2 or 3 people who are projected to win is suddenly getting destroyed, and you're already projected to lose the round by a decent amount. So you kind of have to go find every point you possibly can elsewhere and tell people to send. So I don't disagree with the way you guys handled that, but yeah, a bit unfortunate that a couple of the games that were looking basically no game overperformed other than Spatho.
Yeah.
But there was a bunch of small underperformances and then like 2 really massive ones that you guys kind of had to tell people to go for.
Yeah. So not the spot we want to be in. We've got a lot of internal reflecting to do about whether John could have been giving different numbers or how early he could have been keeping everyone in the loop. Also, which one of these house on fire maneuvers was actually worthwhile. In particular, telling Nick to full send is just never the right call, I think.
No, it's not.
It doesn't work. I think that was a little bit of like, Nick has done this a lot. He knows what the levers are to pull, whether they're realistic or not. And then also Arthur, who's our head strategy coach, who's making these decisions, needs to be internally calibrated to these players and what they can and cannot do realistically, in addition to what they're saying. This, I think we have found, is one of the hardest parts of teams, is that whoever is making your decision needs to know all 8 of your guys really, really well.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they are all going to say one thing, and this goes for pairings and it goes for coaching. They're going to say one thing, and you need to know what that thing means in their language.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right.
This is something that Innes always talks about, of like, people don't have play styles and like everything should be objective. Like, yes, in a perfect world, that's the goal. But I think that almost never actually is the case, right? Like, people have personalities. They have preferred ways to play the game. If you can't accept that that's the way things work, then like, I'm sorry, but that's like kind of delusional, right? Like, Anthony plays the game very differently than Nanavati, right? That's not a controversial thing to say. And if you can't understand what a yellow means from one of them versus the other one, then like you're kind of playing with a not a leg up, a leg down. You kind of got to know your players, and if you don't, then you're going to be making a lot of guesstimations about what's going on in their games. Yeah.
I think that there are 2 ways that you can approach this. One of them is what we talked about a second ago, that you can have very knowledgeable people who can put that sort of filter and lensing over what everyone is saying all the time and just like do the extra computation in their head. Or you need to foster a culture of team where people will get the way that they talk beat out of them real quick. Like you either need someone who can understand that when Nick says, yeah, I can full send here, or it has as a chance to do well, they can interpret that as, oh no, it doesn't. Like, this is a very slim chance, and there is no emergency worth breaking this glass over. That's not a thing that Nick is going to be realistically able to do, even if the lines might technically exist. He is much more likely to score us an extra diff or two by wiggling harder, and that is what we should accept out of him. Or, in prep, in practice, in discussion of pairings and whatnot, you get to a point where Nick doesn't say that, where Nick says, hey, these lines exist. Realistically, I'm projected at a 7. I might be able to wiggle for an 8 or a 9. Asking me to go for more than that is probably suicide. We either need more transparent. We either need our players to be transparent or our coaches to wear X-ray goggles, right? One or the other, and we need to kind of pick one and move on with it. I personally favor transparency on the part of the players, especially when it comes to matrixing. There are a lot of greens that we end up pulling out that come back very drawish. That some people would tell you should have known that was going to be a draw. The player should have known that should be a draw in my mind. You can only do so much on top of the data that you were provided. And it feels a little bit more genuine and kind into your players to expect that of them than to be behind their back saying, yeah, I don't actually trust this person at all. They're not going to do what they say they're going to do. That is the direction that I would like to go personally.
Especially, I agree with you in principle. I do think it's worth mentioning that in the moment, in any given game of Warhammer, there's going to be emotional moments where something doesn't go your way or something one of your pieces doesn't perform. And that's going to make you want to throw up your hands and give up on X, Y, and Z. Maybe you over exaggerate something. It really takes some incredibly strong mental to you went for a cool play. You identified it. It didn't pan out. It potentially has disastrous consequences. Now immediately stop and objectively look at the situation and think about how bad it's going to be. If John's in that moment, right? And I saw, and John saw this cool play where he could go for this lockup and get a 16 or a 17 and be the hero for the team. Okay, his opponent hit a 3 standard deviation, high variance, kills the prince, and now his whole army is free to go charge the Emperor's children who are sitting right in front of him. Okay, John, make an objective call about how bad of a situation you're in right now. That's really fucking hard to do.
It is.
If you have someone who's very adept with Emperor's Children who could walk up behind John and without even talking to him, look at that situation, have someone describe to him exactly what happened, and then think okay, is this actually going to be a 5? Or is it probably going to be an 8 or a 9 because he still has 18 noise marines locked inside of rhinos that Bile cannot interact with? I don't know. It's tough. There's a lot of moving parts, and yeah.
Love Art of War jumping in the chat to complain about my mic being terrible. It's valid. I'm aware. I don't know who's joined us, but welcome in as we I don't know. It could be any of them. But yeah, it's my computer fan. It's a known problem that I'm working on. But yeah, so that's the culmination of the round into France. Ends up not exactly in the best place, but it is the catalyst for what ends up being a really exciting. It's not any of the Art of War people. It's Nick J, the socials guy. Anyway, it ends up being the catalyst for a really exciting comeback story and really galvanizes the team moving forward, one way or another. But yeah, there's something that needs to happen there. We haven't figured out exactly what it is, but I think you're right, Lucas, that having more adept coaches who can read table states is a...
It can probably be... maybe you need to put more onus on one party rather than the other, but I think it can be kind of a meet in the middle situation. Yes, the players can be a little bit more objective and a little bit more honest with everyone about their predictions and where they are on the table. And that's going to require some real conditioning of being put in shitty situations and then taking a step back and a deep breath and thinking, okay, I just got fucked on the dice. Is this 14 actually going to be a 5 now? That is 45 differential points from that one swing. Is that actually what's going to happen? Probably not. But it's hard to see that in the moment. But also, you can put some of the onus on the coaches of, especially people who can play a lot of different armies, having coaches that can cover all of the armies that your team is playing and actually look at it and say, okay, that situation isn't as bad as he's thinking. He's predicting a 5, but it's probably going to be more like a 7 or an 8. And those couple of differential could be the difference maker. So unfortunate that this was a lost round, but it seems like you guys learned a lot from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also get fucking destroyed by 100 Corn Berserkers.
Indeed. No, I will say, if any of you at home are thinking about oh my gosh, this one's broken, I have to fix this, are looking at this and are thinking, oh, come on, this is ridiculous, it's John freaking Lennon. What do you mean his projection is bad? He's always going to do well because he's John, he's really good at Warhammer. Just you wait.
Yeah.
Just you wait.
Exhibit A, next round.
Next round, I think he does okay. Next round, yeah, no, not Exhibit A next round, but Exhibit A 2 rounds from now.
Yeah, there we go.
We've got Germany up next. The graph is a little bit messed up because someone was messing with these things afterwards, so my timestamps are kind of broken. But we'll take a look at Germany. Alrighty, so we do get to play into Germany up next, and Germany is a very exciting round. Because I don't think it even matters who wins here. I think it was Germans. It's a very exciting round because they are the other big bad. They have just drawn into Belgium, which is why we're playing them now. They basically got the pair down. We've got the pair up. As they are 3-0-1, we are, or they're 3-0-1. We are 3-1-0 because draws are last, right? So very exciting. Very exciting to play into these guys who are, no slouch. We did essentially then play both of the 2 teams that ended up in front of us on the first day, which is, very exciting. So it's up, and this means very little prep, right? Because this is just the in-betweeners, and not actually our, a full night's prep. So let me put in the scores here. Spatho got an 8. Lennon, Spatho, where are you? For blue, Spatho, there he is. Spatho got an 8. Lennon got a 17. Pope got a 15.
15 Mortarian's Hammer.
No. Pope 15, Reaper's Wager. Lennon 17.
Sorry, my
Hammer
bad.
time.
17 Mortarian's Hammer. God, nerf that army immediately, dude.
Indeed. Brian got a 12. Anthony got
my new favorite bit is just taking one tiny piece of data and then fucking massively extrapolating onto the meta with it. Damn, the best player in the US, they got one good game of the Death Guard. The army doesn't need any nerfs. You're right.
Not a single one. 14. And then these are
God,
both
I'm so fucking
10s.
Funny. Please.
You really are, dude. Excellent. Okay, so this is the result of the Germany round. And there are some interesting things that happened here. Anything stand out to you, Lucas, that is worth mentioning?
I don't know. A 0 from a green. That's the big one. 17 from the tie. I mean, I agree that that's probably a tie matchup. But Emperor's Children is one of the best armies at exploiting openings in the game. And Hammer Time is as powerful as it is. As someone who's played 20 to 30 games with it at this point, it is cumbersome. And it can struggle to dig itself out of bad situations because it's in an army built of blast weapons that can't fall back and do anything. So I'm not surprised that a 17 is achievable, but getting there certainly requires a lot of skill.
Yeah,
Everything
I think this is a good,
basically on target entirely.
Yep. Yeah, I think that this is a good time to talk a little bit about EC because this is one of the other big storylines over the entire course of the event that I don't think we haven't really covered yet, and really caught us off guard, which is we clearly have a very different perception of EC than the rest of the world does, and part of that is because we have John fucking Lennon, and part of that is because no one else knows how to play EC apparently. We have in our super matrix. Yeah, let me pull that up. If I go this, and then go over to here. The way that we had planned out our super matrix to consider every possible option was we had tiers of nations. We had tiers of armies. We had tier 1 armies, which we expected to see on basically every team. We had tier 2 armies, which were the light table abusers and early defenders. We then had tier 2 armies that were the heavy table users, and then we had our tier 2s that were flexible, that could play on any table. And then after that, we had hard skew armies, which was basically Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, and Shattercrons. And then we had sort of the tier 3 armies, which were the lowest rated things that we thought were still worth matrixing to make sure we didn't have some giant weakness to Drukhari or something. Turns out we don't. They're a bad army. I stand by this forever. Our 3 tier 1 armies were Death Guard, EC, and T-Suns. Several teams did not have T-Suns, and no other tier 1 teams had EC. I know the screen share hasn't changed, Alex. It's not supposed to share. I'm not putting our super matrix on display. Yeah. What do you make of that, Lucas? Like, what's up with EC? I know you've played as it and against it plenty. Like, where do you think it sits in the meta? Why do you think that nobody's taking it? Who do you think is right about the strength of this army in this meta?
Like most things, I think the truth is kind of somewhere in the middle, right? I don't think it's, oh my god, everyone missed EC and we're right and they're all fucking wrong. But I also don't think it's EC is unplayably bad into the whole meta. It's fucking terrible, useless army. Like, all 3 of the big 3 right now, mute yourself, Tyler. All 3 of the big right now are big 3 are armies that can't fall back and do stuff, and get mega punished by people isolating them. So yes, while EC does struggle to kill hulls, they're one of the best armies in the game at exploiting openings, which cumbersome armies like the 2 Knights and Death Guard kind of give a lot of those openings because they're very slow. And they're also very isolatable, right? Because they can't fall back and do anything. If you pounce on one corner of the board, your Emperor's Children, you can quickly relocate to another part of the board, whereas they're completely then removed from that corner of the board, and you can sticky it with Tormentors and move on and just be, they cannot interact with that objective ever again. So I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? We have probably the best player in the United States, John Lennon, playing this army. It's one he's played for like 8 months at this point, 7 months, or something like that. I'm not surprised he did very well with it. I'm sure some other tier 1 nations, if they had they have players of equivalent caliber, if they were repping Emperor's Children extensively for 7 months, I'm sure they could do well as well. I know you've been pants shitting about Emperor's Children for the longest time, and I gave you a lot of grief for it. So did Naj. And yeah, that's a little bit of an exaggeration for sure to say like Emperor's Children is colossally bad in this meta, but yeah, I think a lot of those results are because Lennon is just an insane player. Like, I don't think any of he's also one of the most objective players on our team. I don't think any of his predictions are like, I don't really disagree with any of them, frankly. I think from the ones I've seen so far, they've all been pretty on par, and it's just him performing and over-delivering in almost every single case, except for one that we're going to get to in a second. But yeah, at this point, I'm like not an EC believer, but I'm also not a hater. I don't think they were the like meta terror powerhouse. 6 people have oranges and 2 people have ties into them that we saw at Home Nations, for example. But they're certainly not a bad army, and they can have a place on an 8. And as metas change, I think they're always worth considering.
Yeah,
you have
absolutely.
to have. It's one of the armies that you can't like be your Chaos Knights or Death Guard guy where you could have a fucking brain dead zombie play the army, right? Like for the most part, Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights are a little bit different because they literally only have 6 models. But like Death Guard, you can kind of have a Troglodyte play that army. You cannot have a Troglodyte play Emperor's Children. It is incredibly challenging. And if you don't know what you're doing, you will get punished and you'll get 3s repeatedly. Yeah, that army is paper thin and flies by the seat of its pants, basically every single game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of my disdain for this army is that they have a really good GSC matchup, which when GSC has such a nonsensically good matrix, I'm like, wow, that's insane. How could you possibly have a good GSC matchup? And it turns out it's just that everything scouts and moves really fucking fast and has precision. But the Mauler Fiends, I think, are kind of the sauce here that no one really believed in. Right, John won, was it Edmonton? Whatever GW Open that was with them, and everyone was like, yeah, GW Terrain, you could play these things for sure, but you would never bring them on WTC, right? This is a psyop, and John just submitted exactly the same list, no changes. I think that people give John significantly too much credit very often for the mind games and stuff, when often he's just like playing incredibly straightforward stuff, and people are just constantly accusing him of double bluffing.
Mauler Fiends are
excellent.
They're very excellent. The very obvious thing there is, it's the Knight counter. Okay, I don't think you want to play this army into Knights, regardless of the results of the next 2 rounds. I don't think Emperor's Children want to play. They don't want to play against Imperial Knights, and they definitely don't want to play against Chaos Knights. It does help make those matchups not zeros. Sorry, that's an exaggeration. It makes those matchups like from red to like approaching orange, perhaps, especially on your table choice, where you could stage them more optimally. I think what they're really there for is just being a cheap piece that gets your coterie going, right? Like if someone puts a Piranha or a Tower Ox or a unit of zombies, no, the zombies is a bad example, but like some cheap hull on an objective, you don't want to expose Noise Marines for that because they're your late game. You don't want to expose an Infractor Lord squad for that because that's a terrible trade. What you want to do is go charge a Mauler Fiend onto it, get the guaranteed pop, get your coterie going, and flip the objective as well, and then tag whatever units inside, not take any damage because it's a Mauler Fiend instead of 5 Space Marines. Having to trade, as someone who's played a couple games with EC now, having to trade your Infractor Lord packages down to get your coterie going in the early game is fucking horrendous. It never feels good, and having a Mauler Fiend to do that instead of shoot some Meltaguns and then charge it and kill something is great. Also, if you happen to be able to use them later in the game, real ones to hit and wound on those quality attacks is money. So it's like, regardless of when you use it, like the Lord Infractor packages, right? They don't get a ton out of, going into the mid or late game with real ones to hit and wound, because you can always pay a CP to reroll the hit, and you natively have real ones to win because you're an Infractor. So they don't really get a lot out of the first couple tiers of coterie buffs. Whereas the Mauler Fiends, if you happen to have one in the mid game, going in with 3s rolling 1s, winning on 3s or 2s rolling 1s is so much better than just the baseline stats. So they're very excellent. And frankly, I'm just happy to see a Mauler Fiend be playable because that model's dope.
Absolutely. This particular matchup, I think he's playing against Christian, who's a buddy of mine, and on Team Germany. I have his shirt. Awesome dude. I don't think that he had played into EC much, if at all, and I think he kind of stepped on a couple of rakes on his way in there. The other 2 games that need to be talked about here are our games into Knights, because you kind of get to see both extremes of how those can go. On the one hand, we've got Folger, who did well, but maybe not exactly as well as we might have hoped for. Once Lucas gets back, he's run to the restroom. We'll talk about that one a little bit more. But the other one that's real scary here, obviously, is Anthony going into Knights, and you see that is a green. That is admittedly a green with downside on table choice, which obviously table 8 Fred has here. First off, I want to say massive props to Germany for doing one of the right things and putting some of your best players on Knights. It is really, really easy to say that is, like Lucas said, a brain-dead army that anybody could play. Let me put my 7 and 8 players on that instead of whatever they're doing, and let my good players focus on other stuff. Fred and Arna are not slouches on Team Germany. They are insanely competent players. Not that anyone is a slouch on Team Germany, but they are some of the first people I think of when I think about the absolute killers on that team, and putting them on Knights translates to really, really big scores, right? And ability to wiggle in bad matchups in a way that having someone else who can just run into a good matchup and get a 13, or do his best in a bad matchup and get a 4, just doesn't provide the same utility, right? As cool as it is to flex with stronger armies like we have with EC here, if we had just had John playing Chaos Knights, diff points are diff points, man. It doesn't matter whether you get them out of a cool army or a cringe one. They're just diff points. So that was a big danger here for Anthony, was that Fred is really good at Warhammer and did not make any of the kind of mistakes that some of his other Chaos Knight practice opponents had played into him. Mind you, should this game still be a hard zero on any table choice? No, it shouldn't be. The problem is that the number of knights that Anthony killed was also 0. And it turns out when you play fixed, you do need to kill some number of knights. If you're wondering how the hell does Angron not kill a knight, I'm also wondering that. If you're wondering how the hell do the Mauler Fiends, when they make it into knights, not kill knights, I'm also wondering that. And it's not because they didn't make it, it's just because Anthony just simply, his favor with Khorne seems to have dried up this round, and it went absolutely horrifically. That being said, it's also worth mentioning that Anthony will tell you that one of the things that went wrong here is that while they did practice this matchup on this table, Germany did not win the table roll-off. I remember now, we did, because we had Brian take table 6 first, because Anthony said that table 6 was completely unplayable, but that 8 was bad, but not as horrific.
I remember. Sorry, it just came back. We're talking about Vanilla getting dumpstered.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you go to table 6? He played table 8 into John playing basically this list at practice weekend. I remember this game.
Yeah. So what he will tell you
was worse.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Because he doesn't have a central staging point. So part of the problem, though, according to Anthony, is that when they played this matchup at practice weekend, they had table 8 set up wrong.
In what way?
In something about the angle that the home rune was positioned in, I believe. One of the problems against knights on this table is that on turn 2, Fred can touch the middle little L up here with a knight, and turn 1, frankly, he can touch this L over here, and that means that there is nowhere safe to hold this objective. So, Anthony does not have anywhere in his home field that he can hide, period.
Sure. Makes sense.
And that, as a result of that, it was significantly worse than he had thought it was previously, but also he will tell you religiously that he got absolutely shellacked on dice every time he tried to kill a knight. He doesn't think that this should be a positive matchup the way it was, but it should certainly be not a 0. He just literally killed 0 models, despite Angron and both Maulers making combat, and Karn making combat, and just couldn't kill anything.
I mean, this is kind of World Eater's ideal scenario of being able to take 2 kill secondaries and just focusing on killing the opponent. But I do think that Infernal Lance has a lot of tools to answer what Berserker Warband brings to the table, right? Like turning on 5-up Invuln to cuck Mauler Fiends and Angron is brutal. Having AOC in combat is brutal. Battle Shocks to prevent blood surges is brutal. Also, just 2 despoilers is your worst nightmare, because if he puts Abominance on the objectives to get primary, you have to answer with real stuff. This is the 6 Big Knight dream of put 2 Abominants forward, exist, opponent has to hard commit to them, you annihilate them with despoilers. That's the main gameplay cycle 101. Fred just put out a video about this exact cycle on the Breaking Heads channel, which is usually in German, but he did this video in English. Fantastic video.
Nice.
Playing Chaos Knights. Was very informative. He said this is the main cycle you want to do. Just put 2 Abominants forward, force your opponent to hard commit, especially if they're a melee army, into you, destroy them with despoilers, with despoilers, rinse and repeat. And I think World Leaders have a hard time with that loop, because you can really juice up your ability to kill the first knight with +1 AP, and then maybe you do, maybe you don't. But then whatever you put into the second knight on the expansion, or on the middle, right? Whatever doesn't have +1 AP. Hey, my boy. Whatever doesn't have +1 AP, that's the one you AOC, and that knight takes 10 damage. And then the Abominant swings, you fall back, you obliterate them with a spoiler, and they've traded way down to kill 1 knight. So, yeah, you get rewarded with secondary points, but I just don't think it's that good of a matchup for World Leaders, frankly.
Yeah.
I think
that,
overestimated.
in our world of knight counters, right? Like, a lot of people had a lot of different speculations about why Anthony was playing what he was playing. He was playing this knight because he was tasked with building a world leaders list that can beat knights. Or at least play into knights, flatly. And his list can indeed play into Imperials really well. Its Chaos Knight matchup, because we were not practicing into the right flavor of Chaos Knights, not that good.
Yeah.
Just not that good. We tried it here. It didn't work. It was rather unpleasant. Fortunately, in spite of that, we do end up in a fairly reasonable place. Now, I'm curious, Lucas, as a Knights connoisseur of various varieties, about the other Knights matchup here, which is Folger into IK. And now this is Arna with his triple Atropos Canis and right, it's 3 Atropos Canis and 4 Helvrins. Yeah. That's his list.
Folger and I played this exact matchup at practice weekend. I think green is completely reasonable for this one.
Totally. What I'm curious about is, what is your strategy as the Knights player in this matchup? What are you going to try to do? Remembering that the mission is Crucible Scorched. What's your game plan?
Castle up on your home, put a credible threat on... Not a credible threat, but like keep trying to hold your expansion, stay as far back as possible, especially if the CSM take fixed. Every point you can try to deny, especially because 14 of your secondary points are tied up in Canis. So if he doesn't get killed until turn 3, and then on turn 3 and 4 and 5 runs into the back corner, that's 14 points you're denying. So I think you're just trying to play for 6 to 8 points by being as conservative as possible. Because if you go out and try to fight them, they will destroy you. I think this is made a little bit harder on Folger's table choice, but admittedly 4 tables are already gone. All the light ones are already gone, so like there's still plenty of heavy tables to defend with in the scrum here. I'm guessing he grabbed a heavy, yeah, 2. So I think you just try to play keep away and deny some fixed, and then maybe hold your expansion once or twice, especially if you go second. And hopefully that's good enough.
Yeah. So Arna heard everything that you said about fighting for an expansion, said fuck that noise.
Okay.
So do you take tactical or fixed here as Chaos Knights?
As Imperial Knights?
As Imperial Knights, yeah. I
don't know what... Oh, did he take Assassinate Cull?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, getting rewarded for killing the ACDC, I can see why he's doing that.
So here's Arna's calculus. He says, okay, you're probably going to take fixed. Now, also, I will say, word on the street is that Folger definitely explained what his secondary plans were significantly earlier than he was supposed to. But assuming that Folger is going to go with the secondary plan that he is, Arna says, well, if I sit all the way back and don't let you get those, you have to come to me. And if you come to me and I take fixed, then I will score points. And if you don't come to me, then neither of us score points. And in either of those situations, I mitigate diff to the best of my ability.
That makes a lot of sense.
So he took fixed. He then put all 4 of his big knights in the very back corner.
Holy shit, okay.
I don't mean like on his home field, I mean in the corner. And they stayed there all game.
Holy shit, that is funny.
He played Warhammer with his Helvrins, absolutely. Tried to pressure primary in places, draw Folger into different directions and whatnot. But yeah, that all the way back the whole game.
I don't know about sitting all the way back the whole game. Obviously, it worked out decently for him. Getting a 6 is not too bad. I think in my practice game, I got a 4 or a 5. I can see the appeal of taking fixed, though. I think that makes a lot of sense against Chaos Cults, where they're going to be delivering 9 points plus 9 points plus 9 points to your doorstep. And then if you ever kill Cypher or whatever, you get another 4. But let's be real, you're not going to kill Cypher. But I can't read this.
Fred says that Arna scored more secondaries than Folger.
Okay, I mean, I can see why that would happen. Yeah, if you kill all 4 Armigers, you get 8 on Bring It Down, and then if the I Knights kill 1 ACDC brick, they get 9 points. I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened, but that kind of calculus. The armatures aren't worth very much. Bring it down at all.
I think one big knight got brought down, but yeah.
Okay, goofy.
But it was very interesting. Unfortunately, this game also came down a little bit to time. This was another breakdown as a team, because seeing how the stalemate was going, that like obviously Folger's winning this game, but like if he just says, no, I'm not going to send, I'm going to sit on all the objectives, burn them all, and wait for the game to end, that looks like a small win. Is that enough, or do we want things to get spicy and for him to just like take a turn to run across the table and accept that it might get spicy? He was basically instructed to sit on his hands for like 40 minutes.
Wow.
He said, I only need 40 minutes to play this game from what's left, even if you tell me to full send. He was told with about 45 minutes left, yes, full send.
Oh boy.
He needed significantly more than 45 minutes to play the rest of that game, and I think that because he did not have a lot of in-person experience with the Chaos Cults, he did not understand that, and he was not instructed in such a way that would leave room for him to be wrong about that. As a result, he did not get to play turn 5. Basically, it was all a little bit messy. There were a lot of refs involved, but we were all very nervous about the situation. It's possible that with more time he gets more points. It's possible that playing differently he gets more points. Either way, he ends up getting us exactly the correct amount of points to win the round. He was the last game going, and we were not sure that this was going to happen. It was a very, very stressful moment. Happened to break our way, which is great, but like big failure on the level of team organization. Again, either Folger needs to know what he needs, or we as a team need to overrule him and tell him, no, this is what you need. That's kind of the recurrent theme of this year, right? Our general motto is trust our boys, and we're starting to see some of maybe the edge cases where that isn't the right strategy. Particularly when your boys just don't have the information that they need to have. So really fun.
First year at WTC playing Army, he not panic pivoted to, but like doesn't have as much, we were just talking about Lennon's depth of experience with Emperor's Children. Folger had played this army for like 3 weeks, right? So considering all of that, he did an amazing job, but there is a certain amount of strength and certainty that comes with a extensive chunk of time playing something, even if it's suboptimal.
Yeah, absolutely. And Folger in particular has a lot of experience on exactly Custodes and Eldar.
Yeah.
I could not think of two armies that are less like Chaos Cults than Custodes and Eldar.
Exactly.
So yeah, very fortunate that this all broke out the way it did. This is one of the rounds where, again, Lennon bailed us out. It helps to have one of the best players on the planet.
Second time 3 years beating Germany by 1 point. Sucken Sie my Wiener Schnitzel, you fucking bastards.
Fair enough, brother. Yeah, that's a great question, Fred. What were the other options for Folger? We should totally talk about this because everything's out in the open now. Folger, up until this last minute pivot, was playing double Wraith Shattercrons. This was on the long list of armies that Richard Siegler plays, that as a good friend of the team, who is not a member of the team, Richard Siegler manages to convince us into playing, and then a person who is not Richard Siegler tries to play them and gets mixed results. I'm very glad that we pivoted away from this. That army has no place in a comp. It would not have helped us in these situations at all. But it was the other consideration and was why he was not as repped on this as he could have been, because we were repping that so hard. Anthony had the idea to play Chaos Cults in a fever dream like 3 weeks before list lock. And honestly, the first several games that Folger played with it were disastrous. I slammed him with Votan. I slammed him with Nids. He had some unfortunate games into other people as well. It was looking very sketchy, but he came around on it. It worked out, and it did end up being the right move for the team. But the best possible move does not necessarily mean an excellent move. It's just the best option of what was available. We did briefly consider him playing Eye Knights, and ended up deciding against that. I think that was the right call. I think that him on Eye Knights in our comp as existed would not have been useful. But Yeah, that's kind of where he was at. There were a couple considerations. So anything else that we seriously considered him on? I feel like there was something silly that we considered other than those three. Oh, we considered Custodes for about 10 seconds because that is, his EC, as it were. And then we looked at a super matrix for about 11 seconds and said, nope, absolutely not. 0% chance you are not allowed to play this. Yeah, Fred, I talked about this earlier, but I think we absolutely regret not taking double knights. I think that if we just tell Anthony to get the fuck over it and have him play actual Chaos Knights and have John play Imperial Knights or vice versa, our team is significantly better. I just think that it is. I think that having knights and knight answers is a really good combination of things in a way that we did not anticipate. We made kind of a bit of a joke of, if you're going to bring knights and knight answers, what are you doing? Because then you think that knights are answerable, so why did you bring knights? But our knight answers were insufficient. We got through this entire event on largely the skin of John, and also just being a bunch of really good players. I don't think that we will look back on this and think, yes, this was a great year of comp, like 2022 was, for example, or 2023.
The one where we pinned GSC relentlessly.
We pinned GSC, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, this could have been that, but I think we wrote it off as, okay, we have solved this problem a little bit too early, because we trusted a lot of our boys to go out and do it because they were told to. We tried to do our players are goated strategy last year. Didn't work. Turns out everyone's goated at the WTC. Crazy. To be fair, I think our comp is way better than it was last year. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, like last year there were some significant question marks. In a parallel universe, Anthony also played 7 mirror matches of Knights versus Knights. That would have been fine. I would have loved that. Love watching Anthony sweat. It's my favorite thing. But yeah, so that's Germany, and that is kind of the big hurrah of our run this year is making it out of that alive. We can take I can't look at the live one because it's messed up. But basically, we're looking really, really good for a while, and then right at the end, it got very sketchy, and then it was fine. It was a very funny series of things because Spatho was 10, 10, 10, 10, and then dropped to an 8. Lennon was great the whole time. Pope was great the whole time. Sype was solid the whole time. Gagno also came through. It was overall good round. Okay, let's take a look at our next round after Germany, which is then Austria, the home team. This round was scary as hell, if I'm being entirely honest. Our matrix into Austria, this is the only one where I will freely just show the full matrix here. This is our matrix into Austria, dude. Jesus Christ. It's bad. Like, where's the histogram? Here's the histogram, right? For comparison, into Germany, this is our histogram. 4 blues, 19 greens, 31 yellows, 10 oranges. That's a totally normal favored matrix. Into Austria, 3 blues, 24 greens, 18 in yellows, 12 oranges, 2 flips, and a double flip. There was a bunch of reds on there. Is that accurate? Oh, that does look weird. That's not accurate at all. This must be broken because of all of the nonsense in the middle here. Yeah. Yeah, why is this... Should start here? It's all good. Yeah, sorry, I'll mess that later. No, so that's not true at all. It's way worse than that. Yeah, we have 4 different reds on here. Orange is trying to this is a disaster matrix, and as a result, we have disaster pairings. Like, this is so scary. Disaster pairings isn't. I guess if you're shooting for a win, getting a predicted dead even draw is not. But also, like, look at some of these wins. Like, one of them is Sight Ape into Crons. Brian has not pushed a score above a 12 this event, right? Spatho also very stable and does not play a very push-heavy Space Wolves army. Anthony obviously can push into Chaos Cults, but then on the other end of things, right? Lennon into Knights. Ah! Yeah. Folger into Death Guard. Ah! Sam into Blood Angels. Ah! Yeah. True. Very scary. Fortunately, however, our boys are goated. So, Spatho, green, forget a green. That's a 20, brother. Okay, sure, why not? On the other end of things, though, Lenin, orange? Forget an orange. That's a 0. So maybe Lenin isn't the... maybe he bleeds. Maybe. Pope, orange? Nah, dude, that's a 13. What?
Holy cow.
Sipe, green? Call it an 11. Vanilla, well, I'm really glad that he's on our team sometimes, because that's also a 20.
Let's go, boys.
Folger, orange? Fuck it, we ball. 18.
Oh my god.
Ganyo, yellow, it's Ganyo, it's a 10. And then Nick also pushes some diff, pulls this yellow into a 13. So the result is gangbusters, but man, oh man, is that not what the predictions were like. What matchups stand out to you here, seeing these results?
Well, the orange going up to a 18 is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Also, orange going up to a 13. It's really like a green up to a 20. That's like either you didn't understand how good the matchup was, or things broke your way and it was already good. Like that for Vanilla and Spatho, like obviously it's an incredible result, but like I think that's easily within striking distance. Even though it's the same number of differential, or like the same number of tiers of a positive increase, moving an orange to a green or a blue is kind of crazy for both Pope and Piles. That's
yeah. Cool. Which of those games do you want to hear about first? Because they're both great stories.
Folger's game for sure. That's interesting.
Yeah. So after
Germany,
and after feeling like he was being held on his leash this whole time, he basically said, "Guys, I'm taking my leash off, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sending." And we're like, "Oh, interesting, cool, dude." And he sent.
Okay.
There's a moment here where he tries to line up an ingress, and they end up deciding that it like just barely doesn't work for some reason. And he's like, "So what if I just show up next turn and hit the 9?" And his opponent's like, "I mean, yeah, that's just legal." He was like, "Cool," and he did it.
Let's fucking go, dude.
Yeah, he hit some big charges, did a lot of damage, and like you said, Hammer has the very serious problem of what if everything gets tagged, and everything got tagged.
Yeah.
Just a series of typical Folger put your dick on the table moments that broke his way very well. He refused to lose slowly. He just wanted to play Warhammer, and it worked out very well. The Sam game was a lot more on his opponent, who I don't think understood this matchup at all. He heard... This is Lag, yeah. Lag is not a good matchup for GSC, and his opponent knew this and was like, yes, the thing that they don't like is the pressure. And I'm looking over and I'm like, all right, cool. It's like Sam is not starting to on the table. He understands what he's got to do here. It's going to scrum around. I believe Sam ends up going second here, which is a bummer. Yeah, Sam goes second here, which is real sketchy for GSC into an aggressive army like Lag. And the dude sends out the JPIs, and he's going to do a bunch of damage, apply a bunch of pressure, and screen. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a problem. And then he also sent out the Sangard, and I was like, oh man, that is an overcommitment. Still probably okay, but like, man. And then he also sent out the Death Company.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I was like, oh, interesting. So we're just like not doing that whole screening thing at all, are we? And he's got like a Vindicator on his home field and a Vindicator on his expansion.
Goodness gracious.
And Sam is like, let me if we switch over to the projections tab, Sam is projecting a 7 Vin at this point, still a 7, and I go over to Arthur and I'm like, nah, dog. Oh, whoops, did it come down? Why did it come down? Share, screen, live score tracker, share. And I go over to Arthur and I'm like, nah, dog, this is fine. We got this, boys. And sure enough, he does end up bouncing back and makes all the way up to a 13 when he finally hits some charges and just takes over the table. Trades home fields, gets his home field back at the end. Like, it's just really not the way that the BA wanted to play that, and a bad matchup ends up turning out really well because GSC get to do the GSC thing. A lot of people see GSC, see the 6-inch deep strike, and are like, I'm just not going to bother. Bother. Please bother. It is the correct decision every time. Do not let GSC have unfettered access to your backfield. It doesn't go well. Just screen the 9s. You don't have to be crazy about the 6s, but do not let them 9-inch deep strike and charge onto your home field. It goes poorly every single time.
Yeah, those 20-mans almost always want to find an optimal charge. So trying to prevent them from 6-inching everywhere is a fruitless endeavor. But trying to prevent multiple 9s from accessing your backfield early is absolutely worth doing.
Yeah, very important stuff. So yeah. Meanwhile, John over here projects a 6, has one of the worst bounce turns I've ever seen, and is like 0, maybe 1, no, 0 for the rest of the round. So with John falling off a cliff like that, and Sam not feeling great yet, and Folger not feeling great yet, we started off looking pretty damn sketchy. Right? Like, we fell into not just draw, but lost territory in this round for a large chunk of it, right? From like half an hour in to almost an hour and a half in. We were real scared. And then some of our boys came around and it was totally fine.
Come in clutch.
Yeah, exactly. This Spatho game was nutso. He's played this a couple times. He knows that this is aspect host, with all the crit 5s nonsense, with Lickus and all the saying. He's like, I know that the Fuegan squad and the Dark Reapers and Lickus collectively should obliterate a squad of wolves. He full sends a squad of wolves onto his opponent's expansion, takes it, kills some stuff, and is like, all right, I know what's going to happen here. We're going to keep battling. I like my position here, but I'm not going to win this game by very much. And then sure enough, the dude throws all of those things at the wolves and kills 0 of them in shooting.
-1 hit and wound is so fucked. It
sure
fucked.
is.
Someone who played this army for like 3 or 4 months. Man, that strat is bonkers in the right scenario.
Yeah, it is. You would think lethal sus 5s wouldn't really care. Apparently they do. Lickus goes in and they kill 1 wolf in combat.
Yikes.
Cool. And then they die. And then they explode, and he just raffle stomps these Eldar. I came back to check in a little bit later, and I'm looking around the table, and I'm like, dang, like all these Eldar are getting out. They're all in the right spots. They're going to do a lot of damage this turn. Spatho's very exposed. I think he might be able to swing it back here. Like, he's got a lot of the right stuff in the right places. We'll see how the dice go, but like this might be kind of sketchy. And then Spatho drew his secondary cards.
Oh?
And I was like, oh no. This is not an Eldar player about to have a crazy shooting phase. This is after the Eldar turn.
It was Spatho's turn.
Spatho's turn? I was like, oh, wait, no. These are not all perfectly positioned to do maximal damage. They're all perfectly positioned to die. Oh, no.
Brutal. Fucking...
Oh, Fred, I'm glad you like the projections graph. Yeah. Full credit, by the way, I stole this from the Dutch. They had this at Home Nations, and I was like, yeah, rule number 1, no one's allowed to have better tech than us, so I'm going to build this better than them. And theirs is built, at least in part, using more scripting than mine is. Mine is more all in sheets, which makes me happy. But yeah, it's real fun. We have real time and both by team and by individuals. This one's kind of a little bit messed up because there's some data that's in here wrong. And then also turn by turn for individuals, which is all really good both to review how the round went in total and also understand the narrative of what was going on. So highly recommend this to anyone who has the skill set to bumble through building it. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, we end up getting through here. This giant spike here at the 1 hour 30 mark is largely on the back of this teal here. Yeah, it's on the back of Spatho, who suddenly who's from, after that bounce turn, goes from 12 to 19 and rising.
Yep.
I love the restraint to be like 19 trending upwards. I'm like, you can just say 20, dude. You can just say 20. But yeah, so real good job to our boys there pulling that out. Lennon and then going down, we knew he was going down from a pairings perspective. If we go back to that, you can see how Lennon accepting that then allows those elves to fall into Spatho, which gets us that 20, which is great. And it also meant that we would dodge the knights into anybody else. I think it was like who else is in here? Yeah, exactly. Because Spatho into knights was also bad, and he has a better matchup into elves. And then also Brian was not feeling super confident about his knights matchup, and we're like, let's just get him into the cron. Like all of this worked out really well because we had John fall on this grenade here, and it was a really good self-sacrifice maneuver as captain to have to play that out. So yeah, so naturally, the next round he did it again.
Yeah, dude, I am mind boggled that the one that collapsed was Imperial Knights rather than Chaos. But I guess that's the nature of Knights, right? Very swingy.
Yeah. Lennon does also kill elves, absolutely. But if the elves decide that they want to draw, there's not a ton that John can do about it. It's really hard to push into a Squirmy Eldar player. Nick had actually won that game several times in practice. It's just tricky for John to navigate. Space Wolves into IK can be okay, absolutely. But Spatho's particular flavor of Space Wolves, not so much, right? Beast Slayer can do it a lot better. Spatho doesn't have any real hammer units that can move around, and he doesn't have an ability to hide because he's so dependent on the wolves.
Yeah, IK is damage, quality damage for the army, and Space Wolves fucking hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
It seems,
a lot of
people silly to take an orange when you could get a green for Lennon, especially because he's like, I mean, it's controversial to say he's one of, if not the best player on the team. So get your good player a good matchup.
He's one of the best players on the planet. Like
exactly. Yeah. But I think offering Spatho an opportunity to perform was very selfless of John, and he, not to glaze him too much, but I think he made the right move here.
Totally. And also, like, being such a high quality player, getting a chance to wiggle is also a thing that John is very good at. He does not put up a lot of zeros. That was some effective dice and also some very effective play by that Knights player.
The Knights as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and table 4-5 is definitely not what IK wants to play on here. Right, like, they do not love the box, right? Especially with the heavy rune in the middle there, they're not going to be able to see into his staging very early. Sure enough, the Knights, if I double check, I believe they went. The Knights went first, deployed on the line in full sent, and John was like, "All right, it's gonna get crazy." And
let's see if I get a 0 right now.
Yeah. So props to John for acknowledging that early. This was definitely not a place where he was under projecting, and the fact that we knew that he was getting a 0 early, giving us the ability to send and full push orders to Folger and to Vanilla and to Spatho worked out really well in this particular round.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's the Austrians. And then last but not least, we get our nice easy victory lap. Oh wait, no, it's Poland. Yeah. So this was a crazy round. Yeah, interesting. So after last round, John downgraded both of his night matchups from oranges down to reds because he was like, I just want to be clear here. I do not expect to get points out of that at all. But we'll see what happens. And then let's fill in. I love that we're filling in the results live here. Spatho playing into the Hammer Death Guard comes back with an 8. Downside of Matrix, but that's kind of that's how it goes. It's Death Guard. Lennon this time around with that hard red comes back with a 17. All right, John. I got nothing. Sam gets a 6. That AdMech matchup is really bad for him. Brian gets an 11 because Brian pushing elves is just not real this weekend. He can push elves all day in practice, but his dice simply will not cooperate. And then for the remaining 4 matchups, green, nope, 10. Green, nope, 10. Yellow, yep, 10. Green, nope, 10. What the hell is this round, dude?
Well, we had 4 greens slip to ties, 1 guy pop off, and that's it?
Yep. What the hell happened, dude? Oh, man.
Goofy.
Ah, jeez. Yeah, so, like, I had to spend most of this round at, the Baby King saved us. Absolutely. Like, John had us on his back this entire event, never more so than in this round, right? You swap that 17 to a more expected, 2, and we get a 67? It's disastrous. Yeah, absolutely. We'll show the live thing here in just a sec. Who won the roll-off here? I think it was them. Yeah, so here's how this round looks over time. Short answer, not great. Because, yeah, we paired for a low draw, right? Because this is a whole bunch of neutrals and then a single big loss and a single medium loss and a couple of small wins, right? So in theory, if you think one green cancels one orange and like two greens cancel a red, then we have the slight upside. But then the moment the rubber hits the road, all of our greens suddenly are not feeling so green anymore, which is the most frustrating thing as a pairings and projections person. But yeah, things got sketchy real fast. God, yeah. So like, scared the whole time, sending out push orders a lot, and just none of them came back well. And basically, John just put the whole team on his back and said, "It doesn't matter, I'm winning this thing," and that's why we drew. That's the whole story into Poland, right? Like we can look at the individuals here. Spatho comes in, projects an 8. Says it's going bad, bounces back, gets an 8. Cool. Great job. These U-curves are very common, as it turns out. John says it's a 4, somehow just marches to the frickin' C and slams. Awesome. Sam to the Sadback, it's not pleasant. He projects it as a 7. Things get a little bit sketchy. They bounce back. He's fine. He ends up at a 6. He gets some pretty shit cards the last 2 turns, but it is what it is. Brian... This was the most frustrating. Brian is green plus, and he's first defending. So this is technically a blue. Brian. Oh, man. The dude just could not catch a break all weekend. And just like, man, the scores that this dude puts up in practice are devastating into anyone, doesn't matter how good they are. And it just like did not translate at the event. And this is probably the most heartbreaking of them.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that was like EC kind of residual data from before the immediate WTC testing happened. Because I remember very distinctly, like in mute yourself again, it's very staticky. I remember very distinctly in like early June when we were starting to talk about some Challengers Cup stuff, talking about T-Sens and you saying like, this is the best army in the game. This army is fucking insane. Hearing that as well for EC, like that is when the Codex first came out, it definitely looked like that was true for T-Sens. And in the previous meta, that definitely looked like it was true for EC. But as people played more and more into T-Sens, and I think a lot of T-Sen players, I was hearing I think VSL was talking about this a little bit. Talking to Brian at practice weekend, he as well was like, this is like the tie machine army. Every single game is a 10 to a 12. It's unless it's like a fundamentally good matchup from like a data sheets to data sheets perspective, like, you know, shooting at 6 big knights who can't help but be on the objectives and you destroy them. Anyone else, like the army's paper is still paper thin. It has a hard time going out and doing stuff unless the opponent plays right into the game plan you want them to do. Like if they're just like a 3-wound asshole elite melee army like Bile or something, and they just have to walk into the objectives, yeah, you'll destroy them. But anyone who's able to wiggle a little bit and like make the game squirrely, it's hard for T-Sens to really get anything done. And I think a lot of teams kind of came to that conclusion. I think that's why, at least from the limited data that I looked at, it looked like T-Sens at WTC was certainly not a bad army. I'm not going to make that claim. But I don't think it was the massive fucking Thunderdome points getter that everyone thought it was going to be. The people that took it anyway. And for those who didn't take it, I think they kind of saw that early.
Those Terminators sure were. I think he ended up top 3 with the 10 Terminators. But very different approach to T-Sens than what we've been doing.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's a little bit more of a, you know, of a pushing tool. Not too sure. I haven't seen the Terminator variant on the table much. But yeah, like the Mutalists kind of just walk to your expansion and stay there, right? Rubrics kind of stage up and stay there. Magnus kind of just projects threat and stays there. Nothing's really going out and causing huge problems for your opponent unless they're playing the exact list that you want to see as a T-Sens person.
Yeah, absolutely. Then you can see here on screen the other matchup that absolutely is devastating for us this round is Folger into Skark.
Yeah.
Skark, very competent player.
How the fuck did he go down to a 3?
So I was mostly focused on trying to understand what was happening on the GSC versus Advec table because we needed to Like, Sam can only give so many projections while playing a very intense game, and we need to know if that game is going to shit, so that's kind of my focus for the round.
Sure.
But as I understand it, Canis walked into the middle on turn 1 and was in combat with all 3 AC/DC bricks immediately. And at the end of the game, Canis had 14 wounds.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, I got nothing. This... like, we built the whole round around this particular pairing happening, got it, we're very excited, and, like, Folger knows what he has to do, having just played into Arna, which, like, Skark and Arna, both some of the best players on their respective teams. They play the Warhammer very differently, but, like, he put a fortune into Arna. He knows how to play this matchup. Yeah.
Did Skark get fixed as well? Do you know?
I do not. I didn't ask Folger. I'll have to ask him. I talked to Arna a lot about their game afterwards because he's a good buddy of mine. So I'm a bit curious. I would not be surprised if he did, though. Skark, as a man, definitely loves his fixed secondaries because he sure does love just fucking shooting things. It is very funny that both us and the Poles have the old man on the team who just, like, guns as sort of an archetype.
Honestly, super based. Super based. Just have a boomer be like, I want to shoot people with my tickety tanks. That's cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but bummer we couldn't get them to play against each other this year like we did last time. Yeah, so overall, good stuff. Really, really weird and unfortunate finish, right? I'm not surprised at all that Ganyo gets a 10 into that Votan. Looked sketchy for a second. It was fine. I'm not surprised. Shout out to Nick, by the way, who pulled a 10 out of that Eldar matchup. That is some wiggling, if I have ever seen it. Just a very sketchy matchup that he didn't want anything to do with. And he played it to a 10 twice this weekend, I think. But yeah, overall,
against the guy who fucking pants me
against
year.
Kruger. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, he did pants you, but you also secret missioned his ass and made him and embarrassed the hell out of him. So kind of a mutual pantsing situation. Yeah, love that dude. He's awesome. But yeah, so this is where we end up into Poland. We end up in a draw, and as a result of ending up in a draw here with our 82 points, we do get the upside of the draw at least. This is like the third time we've drawn Poland, if I'm not mistaken. Like, we're what? In the last 3 years, we're 0-1-2 against them. 2 draws and a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we definitely are a little bit bummed about that, especially after this not exactly being Poland's strongest showing, with a lot of their leadership guys is taking some time off. Would have been real nice to put a boot on their throat. And based on the projections, particularly with once John swings up, would have been really nice to get there, but unfortunately just weren't quite able to get across the line. So as a result of that, we do end up... God, where's my ring up here somewhere? There it is. We do end up in third place, which gets us these sweet shiny bling rings, which is really cool. Yeah, they started doing these last year. They're real neat. I didn't. Fun fact: I didn't. I was bummed because this is the second year in a row that France has won a double crown. Like, in addition to winning, because Alvin, their Death Guard player, won War Masters. They forgot to do the War Masters award ceremony. I'm sure Innes bitched about this on Stat Check, but it was ridiculous.
What?
Yeah, they just didn't do it. So, like, Alvin didn't get to have his 2 golden rings on or his double gold medals or whatever. For his photos, which was very silly. After the award ceremony, Innes went up to Ishik and was like, "Hey, man, were we going to have an award ceremony?" And Ishik's like, "Oh, yeah, whoops. Sorry about that. What place did you get?" And Innes is like, "Second?" And then Ishik hands him his golden ticket and his silver medal.
Oh my god.
He's like, "Okay, great job." So yeah, not the finest moment out of leadership there.
Crazy.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Question here from Fred. I've been assuming this is Fred the whole time. I'm pretty sure this is Fred talking, given what he said earlier. Can you elaborate on your approach about coaching during the match, as in getting estimations from players and giving orders to them? As coaches, how do you positively impact the team's result? I definitely read that the first time as how do you possibly impact, but no, you meant positively impact. Great question. Yeah. So WTC this year kind of clamped down on what they are and are not letting coaches do, which is continues to befuddle me because they really just love to narrow a role, which is like, these are the best players on the planet. They can decide how much they want to interact with people. So we're only allowed to talk with players and get projections while they're counting up score in between turns. So we try to get at a projection at the end of every single...
What?
Yeah.
That's lame.
Yeah. You are allowed to be talked to by your by your teammates, so you can stand at them and stare awkwardly, or you can like put a coin on their secondary deck was a thing that we were doing at some points in time to try to get their attention subtly without actually talking to anyone so that they can initiate a conversation. But
what the fuck? That's so random.
They really clamped down on a lot of things this year, which we have, this is not the place for me to wedge all of my gripes about how WTC was handled this year, but
there are a better fucking venue for your event, you donkeys first.
That's definitely one of them.
Continue.
But yeah. Rob says that was the rule last year as well. It's entirely possible that was the rule last year as well. That was not enforced last year, that is for sure. Yeah. A lot of the rules at WTC are enforced exactly when they decide that they're going to be, and it's very difficult. Like, the intention is the rules are stricter than they need to be, so that if someone's doing something that seems like it's kind of flexing or bending the rules, we can point at the document and say, nope, this is clearly against the rules. It does really bug me sometimes, the smug way that Jay likes to say that when he goes to enforce something that has not been very strictly enforced in the past, where it says, it very clearly says this. And we're like, yeah, Jay, okay, fair enough.
I agree with that in principle, though. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give yourself the leeway to enforce the rules if you need to, but hopefully everyone's not a fucking asshole about it.
Yeah, so as a result, we're getting our projections. We're trying to get a number out of them, and we're trying to get a trending direction out of them. The other thing that was ended up being surprisingly contentious at one point is what we're allowed to tell our players about the states of other games. The rules seem pretty explicit to me that you can tell them whatever the hell you want. You just absolutely cannot give them tactical advice about how to play their game as a result. The judges, including Jay, had some very different interpretations of those same words that I had never seen interpreted that way before, so I was rather caught off guard by. But anyway, to answer the actual question here, you try to get a feel for where things are going, and then the other thing you're trying to get a feel for from your players is who has room to push, who has room to make different decisions, who is coming up on decision points, and when can those be made, so that as much of this is flowing through central command as possible, right? What you don't want is a bunch of players in the dark, not sure or where things are at. This has happened to us in years past, where at the end of rounds, we had like two different players asking like, okay, how'd the round go? That should absolutely never happen unless they are playing a very needs my 100% of my attention contentious kind of game, or if they are just, bodying someone very quickly and thus don't need a lot of advice. So that's a really important thing to do, is to understand and which of your players have opportunities, when they're going to be, so that you can give them advice at the right times, and then also properly, like we talked about earlier, overlaying your understanding of what they can realistically actually accomplish given the risk reward analysis that you're doing on a certain situation, right? So if in theory, against Germany, Folger has the opportunity to absolutely run straight across things at Arna. He's projecting like a 12 or a 13 just on primary diff if nobody gets any secondaries, right? Arna's going second, but he's not positioned in any way to take an objective because Folger's going to burn all of them. So his primary is just going to be, I hold 2 every turn, earn and burn 2 is 50, and then Arna's going to hold his home field. Let's say they just stare at each other for 5 turns, is 25. At best, he's getting a 35 on primary, right? If he's able to take and burn on turn 5. Still 15 points of diff based on that, and he does get to kill the little knight, so we're talking about a 13-7 probably. Are we okay with a 13-7, or does Folger need to get spicy, spend 2 turns crossing the table, and try to play for a 16-17, try to actually go table the knights? knowing full well that in that turn of crossing the board, if things go wrong and Arna plays well and dices well, that he might fall all the way down to like a 10. He could lose that game even if he really fully exposes and things really go wrong on both the offensive and defensive ends of it. And when do we need to make that a particular call, right? So that's the information that we're trying to gather as coaches so that Arthur and John, really Arthur was in charge this year, can make that decision, and then we can relay that back to them with as much time available as possible. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to do to make positive impacts, is to get ahead of that stuff as early as possible, so that everyone is on the same page and playing the same kind of Warhammer that they need to be playing, right? Whether or not you can push for one extra diff is often not that big of a deal, right? You'll hear Typhus talk about this. He has a very different approach. He says, you don't ever tell anybody to push. And I get where he comes from, because a lot of the times players are very bad at estimating the risk-reward of things, and they just end up overexposing and getting punished for it. That's usually what happens when we're talking about pushing 1 to 2 diff. In our comp, we are designed with a couple of open the floodgates armies in mind as pressure release valves, right? Folger can do that. John, to a certain extent, can do that. EC has a full Ulsend gear that it can always flip into. Sam can bet the game on as many 9-inch charges as he wants. Like, things can get real sketchy with that. Anthony, obviously, he's going to do Anthony things kind of regardless, but he has that opportunity as well. Brian and Spatho and Gagno a little bit less so, but like these are things that we're intentionally trying to make sure that our people can do. So those are some thoughts about that. I hope that answers. I got a little distracted. But yeah, so that's where we end up. So we end up in third overall with what is this? 5 wins, a draw, and a loss. The loss being to Team France in first place, and the draw being to Team Germany, who ends up, I think they were all saying, U-boat submarining.
Our loss was to Poland.
Our draw is to Poland. Our draw is to Poland. Our loss is to France. So Germany, who despite being defeated by us, managed to, we're all joking, the U-boat submarine into second place, being also 1 draw and 1 loss to us, draw into Belgium, and then slamming a couple of other people. They get up there on tie breaks. Tie breaks really matter. We say this every year. It's why we push as hard as we do in pod and often end up in first place out of it, because every one of those diff points makes a difference. Unfortunately, we weren't quite able to pinata Austria in the way that we would have liked to make that happen, and certainly not Germany, barely squeaking it out with the 86 there. So we end up in third overall. So I think that the mood on the team about this is in kind of a middling spot, right? Everyone is very happy that we hit the podium. I think that if Sweden had managed to jump us, which they really almost did, it came down to the very last game. They were a couple diff off. It wasn't super likely, but it was possible until the very last game for them. We would have been feeling real bad. Coming home with hardware definitely always helps the morale. But at the end of the day, there's one team who, based on results, is clearly better than us right now. Right? They have slammed, which is France, and the Germans and us appear to be on relatively equal footing. And then the Poles are also doing very well as well. I don't think that we should take quite the Belgian approach to how they went after the Germans, but like, we cannot lose to France again on prep. That's like a really embarrassing place to be at, where there were games in that French and setup or in that French matrix that were not played. The French brought 3 lists that nobody was ready for, right? They brought the Recon Guard, they brought the 100 Zerker Woods, and they brought Olivier's take on Gladius Wolves with the 20 Blood Claws and the 10 Terminators. Honestly, every single one of our players should have played all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
So a couple thoughts on this, because I know we were having this conversation last year as well. There is limited time to prepare for WTC, right? Do you tell someone to not play games into Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, Death Guard, Space Wolves? I mean, I get that Olivier was one of your examples, but like, do you tell people to not play those games and instead play against? Because people were playing games into 100 Khorne Berserkers. It wasn't everybody, but like, no one has infinite time to play every single tier 1 game. Certainly not even like once, and certainly not more than that. I ran into this exact problem last year. So like, what do you tell someone that they need to play all, 72 games?
No,
And some of them will be overlap.
Absolutely not. It's just France.
Okay. So do you think if we played into Sweden and, hypothetical, if we played into Sweden and lost, do you think we'd be having this exact same conversation about their Corn Demonkin detachment?
I think that France is in a unique position, as they are the reigning champions who brought lists that we haven't seen before, that we knew that we had to go through in order or to get to the top. That is where the preparation needs to be, especially. Right? We are a better 8 than the Swedish 8 are. Love those guys. They're great at Warhammer. Played with them a lot. We match up to them well enough, and have historically matched up with them well enough, that if there are a couple of games in there that aren't covered, that's not the end of the world to me. This is our second year in a row having gotten our butts kicked by France.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They line up into us on both. They have plenty of talent to line up to us 8 on 8, and also brought, as Floof has pointed out here, the weird stuff that we didn't know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think that we needed reps into their specific VV Death Guard list, or their specific Bio list, or their specific Necrons list. I think that there were 3 armies brought by the best team in the world that we had never seen before, and everyone needed those 3 reps. I don't think that 3 is an abnormally large number of reps to mandate for a team.
That's fair. I think Recon Guard and Berserker Warband are great examples of that.
Yeah.
Wards are not very prevalent in the meta. Everyone needs to play into this at least once to kind of know what it's about. And we did play a couple of those games. I know John played Recon Guard at least once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Matrix right now. There were 3 people who didn't play into the World Leaders. There were 4 people that didn't play into the Guard. There were 3 people that didn't play into the Space Wolves. It's not like we didn't prep at all.
I am almost certain that more than 3 people did not play into that 100 Berserker. I think it's more, personally, from my own perspective, having experienced these sort of situations as a player in previous years, I think it's an attitude problem on Team USA. And I am absolutely guilty of this as well, of going off of theory. Even if that theory is corroborated by the rest of your teammates, we still have this fucking problem where, yes, we have some people who are experts on certain things, and specialists, for lack of a better word, or I mean, like, that's an entirely appropriate word, specialists on certain things. But then we also have complete and utter gaps. Like, for the last 2 years, Grey Knights and Necrons were huge gaps. Now we have Ruben, who's an amazing Grey Knight player and helps fill that gap. That's wonderful. But we still don't have someone who plays Necrons. Like, I'm surprised, frankly, that no?
Walter? The GOAT?
But, like, how many people had actually played into 40 Warriors and understood the matchup in and out? I don't think that many. Last year, when there was a bunch of Necrons at WTC, I had played the Necron matchup one time with Green Tide, decided it was bad, and then went from there. That's probably, like, not sufficient. Like, a lot of these situations, people are making either, in some cases, uneducated guesses, but in other cases, educated guesses. And that's just like, I think that really does lead repeatedly to these scenarios of we think it's a green because on theory it seems good, and maybe you've played it one time, and then it ends up being an 8 or a 9. And if that happens for 2 or 3 people on your team, all of a sudden you're missing 10 differential, and you've moved from tying France to losing to France, or you've moved from beating Poland to tying Poland for the 3rd year in a row, or whatever, And I think that really is where we're coming up short against other tier 1 nations. Because, like, at this point, it's aside from, I think our pairings go very well, but then, like, the players can't execute. And I think a lot of that missing execution is down to we're just overconfident. Or we don't understand, or even the opposite, right? Like, we don't understand when something is green and should be a blue. Like, last year, I played the Eldar matchup into France and fucking bodied his ass. That easily could have been a 20. I put that in the matrix as green. That's probably not accurate.
I think that we have a problem of wanting to practice our neutral matchups because that feels like good use of both players' time. And I think that we need to be practicing both extremes a lot more. right? A lot of the matchups that weren't played into France are the ones that are telling me they're getting bodied by either of those horde lists. Nick thought he was getting bodied. He played it. It was fine, right? Obviously, what ended up happening, notwithstanding, that's not what I'm talking about. It's fine, right? Knowing what's actually fine, even if it's unpleasant for our players, is really important. And knowing the difference between, yeah, I win this game and get a 12, and yeah, I win this game and get a 16 is just as important as the difference between a 12 and an 8, right? Like, same for diff. Fred brings up a fantastic point that I have not talked about at all yet, and it is, I realize that we're 2.5 hours in. We have a rule on Team USA that starters cannot play War Masters. In spite of this rule, we brought all of our starters in on Monday with the intention that there would be a lot of prep happening over the course of the week. There was some prep happening. Some games were played. We had sets of terrain and we had armies and whatnot. But we then also, like, I think it was Andrew who had this the suggestion of, like, starters should not play other starters on their starting armies because that only leads to bad things happening. Which then kind of led to just, like, nobody prepping during that week, and everyone could have been playing games. Mm-hmm. I am curious if, strictly from a rep's perspective, as Fred points out here, we should be playing War Masters.
So I'm curious. The thing that immediately jumps off the table to me is like maybe even if everyone shows up in advance, like there is still some amount of it's more taxing for people who are traveling internationally to play War Masters and WTC. Like I'm curious how many Kiwis and how many Aussies play War Masters.
I know that Taos does.
Well, he's the GOAT, but
yes.
Like
that's a valid point.
Like the quantity. If there's like 3, okay, then those people are just like grinders. Fair enough. I don't think. I think a conversation could definitely be opened up of like allow people to play War Masters.
Yes, exactly. Not mandate. Folger was chomping at the bit. He was really mad at Anthony about this. He could have
really used 6 extra games with his army.
Yeah, right, and here's the thing. Day 1 of pod is 1 game at 6 p.m.
Exactly.
Like, you get plenty of rest. I don't know. I think that, yeah, minimum 6 extra reps for Folger could have been invaluable. The fatigue thing is real, but the other thing that I think is not real is the data thing. I don't think that it's that big of a deal. Like, that any of our... It doesn't matter how sneaky your comp is. I don't think that there's anything that's going to happen at War Masters that is going to radically change how someone is pairing in a way that negatively affects the game more than you getting reps will improve the game. Right, because that's the other argument is. The other argument, in addition to fatigue, is, well, what if they see Lucas play into this matchup and Lucas bodies him, and previously they thought it was a good matchup for their guy, and then they pair differently and Lucas doesn't get that matchup during WTC?
Okay. You don't think that's real? Because
I don't think that's real.
I agree with you.
Because I think that is super self-indulgent to be like, we have such better knowledge than they do, that they would A, not have the knowledge, and B, but yes, have the knowledge to bother to check.
Let's
come on.
Let's assume our opponents have not prepared.
But that they will also super prepare right this moment.
Yeah, them watching me play a game is going to be more valuable to them than me getting experience in that game is for me. Like, that's fucking unhinged, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fred also points out here, people play differently in singles too. Absolutely they do. Yeah, good data, good warm-ups. I just sent in my we have a little survey that went out to everyone who went this year about what we could be doing better next year. I'm going to bring that up next time I have a chance, because I think that is a really good point, Fred, and I appreciate that. Yeah, last minute insights are very unreliable, absolutely. Whereas the confidence of, I have just smashed a bunch of Warhammer games, and also maybe saw some matchups that I needed practice into, and also am practicing on the Wayland-Yutani terrain in that hall.
Exactly.
It's a very different experience than TTS.
And if you get tired, just fucking drop. And then take a day of rest. Like, who gives a fuck? There's 400 people in there or whatever. No one's going to care about one person dropped because you have the WTC to get ready for. Everyone's going to understand.
Tons of people drop after round 3, after round 4, and after round 5. Not a big deal at all.
Now that you bring this up, this policy fucking sucks. Sorry,
Yeah.
you fucking old hats from the East Coast can't handle more than 6 games of Warhammer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't go to sit in the hotel for 4 days and jork it. Came to play Warhammer.
I mean, you went to sit in the hotel for 4 days and try not to die.
And eat donor, thanks for very much.
Absolutely.
That was the best donor of my life.
That's good stuff.
But anyway, yeah, so that's an interesting point. All good points made. I think another thing that anything else you want to say on that before I go to another?
No, I'm satisfied.
Okay. So my other thought is like, I think, and again, I'm gonna I don't want this to feel like a call out because I think it's an example of something that goes poorly on our team that we need to improve on. And again, it's something that I'm also guilty of. You can go back and see examples of this from 1 to 2 TAC episodes ago, where I was calling the Spanish orcs list fucking trolling, and I hate this thing and I never want to see it again, right? But if we have these faction experts and a tier 1 nation brings something that we weren't expecting or is not something that we prefer to play or are playing, we cannot call it trolling. And I will admit, Anthony has done a great job of this since WTC, of like starting to ideate on 20-man berserker squads and realizing that that's a good archetype and like, what can we do with it? So that's cool. I love to see that. But I gotta say, like, in those moments when lists were revealed, he's like, this is a fucking terrible list. This doesn't do anything. Like, these 20-man squads are awful. They just die. I don't think France would take that list if that was true. Wow. Just like, this is
such a thing, and it's particularly the, hey, what do you think about this list? What is it trying to do? What weaknesses does it have that I can exploit? If your response as a faction specialist is, this list is bad and I don't like it for XYZ reasons, I don't give a fuck. Shut the hell up. Yeah. If your response is, it has I don't like this because it has this, that, and this weaknesses, you should exploit them by doing X, Y, and Z, that's great help. But this list is bad, I wouldn't play it, is the least useful feedback I could possibly imagine. If you just said, I don't understand this list, I couldn't make it work, there's some sauce that I don't see, that's infinitely better than this list is bad and it doesn't work, and it communicates the same idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then there's at least some kind of forward conversation about trying to figure it out. Right? Because
loop somebody else in who does something different than you. Like,
it can be any number of reasons, but there are reasons why every tier 1 nation has taken the armies that they've taken. None of them are, this list doesn't work and it's bad. Right? And again, I am guilty of this as well because I laughed at the Spanish orc list. I haven't looked at how well that guy did. But like,
he went 3 and 5.
Chad.
Never scored above a 13, never scored below a 5.
Okay. So I'm sure in previous years I've looked at Orcs and Chaos Knights lists with things that I deem slight inefficiencies and said this list is bad and awful and I don't like it. But it's not constructive to do that just full stop, right? But like it doesn't help. And then we end up in these scenarios where like we get bodied by the French again because we assumed that their lists were bad. Come on, man. Come on, man. But like, who on our team? There are people who play 100 Corn Berserkers, but like, no one. There are people playing. Walter doesn't like Warriors. In the run up to the event, you were just saying Walter's our Awakened Krons player. He doesn't like playing 20-man Warriors. He doesn't like those units. He doesn't think they're good. Who the fuck is gonna offer quality 20-man Warrior squads on our roster? 20-man Warrior reps on our roster. Who's going to offer recon?
In theory, it should be me,
roster?
But yeah.
Who's going to offer recon guard reps on our roster? It was agony getting John to play that one time at practice weekend. He was moping about it for hours. Some of these reps are just hard to come by.
They are hard to come by, but also they're hard to come by because we're making them hard to come by, right? It's okay if you aren't able to provide the highest level version of that rep, but all of our guys need to step up in that role. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that it is impossible to get a game into 100 guardsmen is upsetting to me about John, not about the list, right? Yeah. Like, if they have a weird
30 models, man. this is why I was saying it's an attitude problem, right? Like my attitude toward that orc list, that Spanish orc list, should be a willingness to try to make it work in our practice games rather than the assumption that it's bad.
Yeah. I'm fully with you. Okay, cool. We're 2 hours 40 in. We good to take some questions and get out of here? Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, let's do it. No, let's do a full Challengers Cup deep dive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're going to Challengers Cup. We're going to win. We're not going to win. Art of War is going. But we're going to come in second. It's going to be awesome. Couple of questions coming in. First question comes in. God, who beat Art of War, though? You're still here, Jason. We're coming for you. This is from Sam. Sam says, good to meet you, Tyler Iro, for the first time. Crazy to me that was the first time, Sam. We've spoken so much online that I just sort of assumed you were around all the time. But hopefully not the last. Hope you're residing back to stateside. Well, I am. What parts do you think the USA team did well this year, and where did you fall short? Okay, I think we have discussed this at length. And Sam, I hope you agree. We have a number of issues that need assessment, most importantly in preparation. Over the board, we did very well. Alrighty. Next question comes in from Jeff, who asks, the system in France seems to be very well organized with promotion and relegation for teams in their country. Do you think this contributes to their back-to-back wins, and could something similar be helpful for Team USA? First off, if you don't know what Jeff is talking about here, go check out the most recent Art of War podcast with Nick Nanavati, where he interviews Olivier, the French captain and back-to-back champion of WTC. The French system is insane. Once you understand how their system works and how our system works, the fact that we would ever even play a game against them is absurd. They are 20 years ahead of us in terms of organization and in terms of logistics. They just are.
How much of that do you think is down to like the size of the country? Because that's the typical scapegoat for us.
The size of the country helps. The excitement in the country about teams is more important. The two are not unrelated, right? A smaller country can be more excited about teams because teams events work better with more densely populated countries. But, like, compare them to England. England, an even more densely populated country than France when it comes to how localized their 40K scene is. And they have nothing like the French. They have no organization at all whatsoever. Team 40K doesn't even exist in England, as far as I can tell, outside of WTC. Like, it's crazy. Which I know is funny because I was invited to a team event in England very recently. So I guess it does exist. But their system is crazy. Go check out that podcast, hear all about it. Does it contribute to their wins? Absolutely. Having that many players working that hard at team... Yeah.
Plays no impact at all.
But I will say, as an American, as long as I can say, it's this crazy organizational structure and culture, not any of our particular decisions that did it. Absolutely, yeah, there's nothing we could have done. No. Could something like that work here? Absolutely not. There is not nearly the level of dedication to teams events here, particularly with an eye toward WTC, right? The team circuits that have been popping up in the US have been met with mixed results. Some of them have been doing better than others, but their general refusal to just adopt the WTC standard as the way to play Teams 40K significantly hinders the pipeline from those events to WTC. Their attempt, I'm talking about the NTL here, Fred. Their attempts to differentiate themselves and not just be WTC have resulted in a lot of people who do not like the WTC FAQ, who do not like WTC terrain, and who are not particularly interested as treating this organization as the pinnacle I know. I'm being hyperbolic. You guys have cool team events. It's fun, but it's nothing like France. It doesn't. For the US, it's not set up as a pipeline, right? There is very little communication between the NTL and Team USA. And that's for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But the net result of it is that it is not a natural feeding pipeline. You are either excited about WTC of your own accord, or maybe because you played some NTL team stuff, you then heard about it and wanted to get involved. But there is not a natural connection the way that there is in France. And it's going to require a lot for there to become one. And it mostly has to come from their end of, we want this to be a WTC thing. Because at the moment, they just don't. They're very indignant about wanting to do their own thing, about not rewriting the game as much as WTC does, and that's just going to hinder the scene's ability to grow and to interweave with the way that we do things on Team USA.
Yeah, there's a lot of just like general culture hostility toward teams, and I think it's because like a lot of singles communities in the USA hear like Europe or WTC, they just instinctively, it's like instant negative connotation for some fucking reason. And then lo and behold, if any of these people actually grow some fucking balls and go to a team event, even if it's like local to their area, but Baby has played on the objectively better terrain format, and they're like, oh, this is actually really fun. I'm actually really enjoying this terrain. It's cool to not just have a shooting gallery. Like, this is a fun format. Wow, crazy, you fucking donkeys! Like, I don't know. There's just a lot of idiotic, American exceptionalism stuff going on. Of just like, yeah, I'm sure the way we do it is the best, and there's no changes that could be.
Just playing all 8 GW maps on every layout, and then letting the defender also pick the mission that they're playing. That seems like a reasonable idea. What could possibly go wrong?
It's so
there are 8 maps because there are 8-man terrain. It's surely it's how it's supposed to work. Also, Mr. Lawless, thank you for giving me the punchline that I was waiting for, which is that UKTC team events are 5 mans and on UKTC terrain. So you also do not have a WTC league organization scheme, anything like France.
Yeah, I mean, even just locally, speaking to what's happened locally, right? There were in singles events 2 or 3 years ago, I would mention the word WTC, and people would instantly just like shut down, not want to chat with me. Think like they're like, I don't like that FAQ. Of course they have like their holier than thou terrain format over there. I'm like, have you played on it or interacted with it at all? Can you like reference anything that's actually in the FAQ? No? Okay. So you're just saying that you don't like it because no particular reason. Gotcha. Okay.
It's a bunch of pieces of paper that they do not want to read.
Exactly.
Bummer, dude.
And then
that's Warhammer.
All of these people play at West Coast Warbands, the event that we reviewed on this channel 6 months ago. Oh, this terrain format's goated. It's oh my god, it's so cool. Like, maybe we actually should use this FAQ. Maybe the charge blocking shit is cancer. It should be removed from the game. Wow, crazy! You guys are 10 years behind everyone else. Morons.
Yeah, Fred, I completely agree. I wish that everything were on a universal system. The problem is Mike Brandt hates teams, GW hates teams, and they don't want it to be the dominant format. So they're not going to make layouts that are designed with that in mind. And the rest of the world wants to play on the most GW stuff possible, which I completely agree with, because that's what the game is being balanced for. Someone has to break, and I do not see it being WTC adopting GW layouts until GW decides that they want to build layouts for teams, right? Mike is the guy who has to break here, right? GW has to accept that teams is the future of the game. The problem is, I don't blame them. It's an impossible sell to someone who doesn't play 40k. To say, hey, yes, I would like you to learn this incredibly complicated game, follow this dynamic meta, pay a ton of money and time for your army, and also I need you to find 7 best friends to be able to do this with, and also learn this other game on top of it. Yeah. We're a niche within a niche here, right? Something's going to break in the next couple years, but we're a long way, I think, from it happening. Last question from the Discord comes in from Tim the Weird Boy. Asks, what is your current opinion on the current data slate schedule, and could it be improved? Which I think is another way of saying, I'm so tired of this meta. Why hasn't it been fixed yet?
I
think that quarterly is the right frequency to have mandatory updates. I think that anything less than that we've seen is bad, and I think that if we update it to like monthly or something, people are going to go crazy.
Yeah, that's way too much. 3 months is already, like, I get that, in previous years we were complaining that, 6 months is not often enough. Yeah, 3 months is probably about right, even if it feels sometimes like, why is there a need for a slate here? The thing is, if you're ever in that situation where you're feeling, why is there a need for a slate here, the changes can be small, and it'll be fine. So I think 4 times a year is about right. I like that there's differences. Are we still on the whole every 3 months there's a points change, every 6 months there's a rules change thing?
Yes, that is currently, I believe that is their formal stance, but frankly I think they have basically thrown that out the window and have been doing points and rules all the time.
I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I would have loved to see an emergency patch for Death Guard and or for Knights, at the end of the day,
not necessary.
If the meta is going to suck for 3 months, it's going to suck for 3 months. It's 3 months. Does it have to be this 3 months? Big bummer. Would love to play a WTC with a non-fucked meta for once. But here we are. So, we'll see. We have, 2 or 3 more balance patches left in 10th, right? Like, it's going to be what it is. So we'll see what it looks like. I think the current schedule is fine. I think that yeah. Well, we all wish the game was better, but I don't think that more frequent that the current format of the way that they fix it is the problem.
Spoiler, down 30 points.
Cool, and one of per army. And double guns are just twin linked now.
Boo! L take.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. So that's about what we've got out of this. If you would like to continue the conversation going and you can't get enough of this stuff, head on down onto the link in the description for our Patreon, where you can spend $5 a month to get into the Discord. Keep chatting with us. We are there all the time. None of us have lives. It's a problem. If you want to get a little bit more one-on-one attention, head over to stat-check.com/coaching, also linked in the description, where you can get in touch with either of us or any of the other wonderful coaches here at StatCheck to get some more one-on-one attention. We do singles coaching. We do teams coaching. If you want us to work with you on pairings, if you want us to work with you on team dynamics stuff, right? Like Lucas and I captain teams. We do all sorts of stuff. We're available to chat about whatever for as much or as little time as you're interested in paying for. No coaching package is too large or too small. So check that out. Check out our wonderful sponsors in the description as well. They've done a great job of supporting the show, and we really appreciate them for that. We will also be in the YouTube comments as always if you want to drop more things there. If you want to get your question answered on the show, though, you're going to want to do that in the Discord in the Take All Questions channel with the threads that pop up a day or two before each episode. Or if you're catching one of these live, you can super chat as well to make sure you're involved. Or as you saw, we sure do talk to the regular comments a bunch as well. Anything else you want to say before we sign off for this week, Lucas? This has been a long one.
Go USA.
USA, baby. We'll be back next year and better than ever. It's gonna be awesome. Hell yeah. Between now and Challengers, we've definitely got room in the schedule for one, maybe two more episodes. We'll see what we talk about then. Maybe we do some more Votan stuff. Maybe we've got the 5-man's tournament coming up too, right? Don't we? Yeah. That could be fun. We could cover that. A lot of cool stuff.
Do at least one or two more before Challengers.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot going on. So if there's something in particular you want to hear us talk about, drop it in the comments here or in that Discord as well. Thanks so much for joining us. I've been Tyler.
I've been Lucas.
And Nick will hopefully be with us in the future. And we will see you all next time for a little bit more Warhammer 40,000. For now, though, I think we're going to take a nap. WTC is over for this year. We'll get them next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.